Leo wasn't the least bit bothered that Mr. Wallace had given the cash gift, originally intended for him, to Isabelle instead. In fact, he was thrilled to see it. It was another small way his chosen family was accepting her as their own. Isabelle, still holding the envelope, stood before Mr. Wallace with her head slightly bowed, her face flushed. Suddenly, her nose twitched. Her expression changed in an instant. "Oh my gosh," she yelped, spinning around and dashing toward the kitchen. Leo realized she must have left something on the stove. He couldn't help but chuckle before turning back to Mr. Wallace. "Mr. Wallace, you should stay for lunch. It'll be ready in a minute." No, my wife's already got a meal waiting for me at home," he said, waving a dismissive hand. "I just want to stop by and see how you were doing. Figured if you were alone, I'd drag you over to our place. But I see you've got good company. We'll save it for another day. When you get a chance, bring her over for dinner." Leo nodded. "Of course. I was actually planning on stopping by your place tomorrow to wish you a happy new year. I didn't expect you to beat me to it." No trouble at all." Mr. Wallace turned to put on his shoes. Leo grabbed his own jacket, intending to walk him downstairs. Normally, out of politeness, Mr. Wallace would have refused the gesture. But he said nothing, simply allowing Leo to accompany him. Once they were in the elevator and descending, Mr. Wallace spoke again, his tone casual. "Leo, that girlfriend of yours. She has an air about her that's different from most people. Her family must be quite well off." Leo didn't think much of the question. "Yeah, her family's in business. She's definitely a trust fund kid. If I'm not mistaken," Mr. Wallace continued, his eyes fixed on the elevator doors. "She's the daughter of Richard Thornton, the chairman of Thornon Industries." Leo's head snapped toward him, his face a mask of disbelief. Before he could speak, Mr. Wallace added, "Don't be so surprised. In our line of work, you get familiar with the major players in the business world. And Sterling White is a nationally recognized firm. We've worked with Thornton Industries before. I've seen Richard Thornton from a distance. The moment I saw your Isabelle, she looked familiar. Then you confirmed she came from a business family with that unique presence of hers. It all clicked. It would be too much of a coincidence otherwise, wouldn't it?" "Mr. Wallace, you really are a lawyer," Leo said, giving him a genuine thumbs up. "You're right. Isabelle is the Thornton heiress." Hearing Leo's confirmation, Mr. Wallace's expression shifted, and he let out a long sigh. Leo guessed what he was thinking. "Mr. Wallace, I know there's a huge gap between our backgrounds. I've known that since the day I met her. But you also know that my studio, Starfall, is growing into a respectable media company. You've seen our growth and potential. It might sound crazy, but the reason I'm working so hard is so that one day I can stand in front of her father with my head held high. I don't need to be richer than the Thorntons, but I need him to see that I have the potential and the ability to get there." It was the first time Leo had ever voiced these thoughts to anyone. He couldn't say them to Isabelle. It would sound like he was just selling her a dream. He couldn't say them to his friends. It would sound like he was full of hot air. But Mr. Wallace, who handled some of the legal work for Starfall, knew exactly what Leo was capable of. The confession didn't sound out of place at all. To Leo's surprise, however, Mr. Wallace shook his head. "Leo, as soon as I realized who she was, I understood what you've been working for these past 6 months. I know how determined you are, and you've always been a young man who gets things done. I don't doubt you for a second, but that's not what I was thinking about." "Then what were you thinking?" Leo asked. "I was thinking," Mr. Wallace said, his voice dropping slightly. "If one day Isabelle Thornton went from being an heiress to just a normal girl overnight, would you still work with the same drive and discipline? And more importantly, could you comfort her through the emotional fallout of having her entire world turn upside down?" Leo's brow furrowed. He wasn't stupid. Mr. Wallace had just mentioned that his firm had worked with Thornton Industries. Perhaps their connection ran deeper than he let on. Was this a hint? "Mr. Wallace," Leo said immediately, "is something wrong with Thornton Industries? I know several of their projects ran into trouble recently, and a lot of their assets were frozen. Do you know something I don't?" Mr. Wallace shook his head. "Leo, whether I know anything or not is irrelevant. Neither of us has the power to change it. Just think carefully about what I said." He paused, then added, "If I'm not mistaken, Isabelle came back to Crest from New York on her own, didn't she? At this time of year, she really should be in New York with her family. But here she is, in Crestview, making you lunch. It's clear how important you are to her. Even without knowing the details of your relationship, I can tell she's a good girl who you absolutely cannot let down." With that, Mr. Wallace clapped Leo on the shoulder and walked out of the building. Leo stood frozen, watching his retreating back. A powerful, unsettling premonition washed over him. Isabel's life was about to be turned completely upside down. After standing outside for a few minutes, Leo took the elevator back up. As he quietly opened the door to 1003, he was greeted by the faint sizzle of a hot pan and the rich aroma of scrambled eggs. The door had opened so silently that Isabelle, still in the kitchen, hadn't heard him. She was completely focused on cooking. Leaning against the sofa, Leo watched her flustered but adorable movements and couldn't resist pulling out his phone to record a quick video. Once he was done, he crept up behind her. You scared me," she yelped, her body flinching. She brandished her spatula and peered behind him. "Did Mr. Wallace leave?" "He left." "Why didn't you ask him to stay for lunch?" she pouted, clearly disappointed. "He could have been the first to try my cooking." Leo grinned and rubbed his nose, mumbling, "Well, I haven't tried it yet either. What if the taste was? I can handle it, but if Mr. Wallace ate it, you'd be so embarrassed." "You're that certain my cooking is going to be bad?" She crossed her arms, her eyes narrowing into thin slits as her tone turned frosty. Leo didn't back down. "I'm not certain it'll be bad," he said seriously. "It's just your first time, so it's normal for the seasoning to be a little off. Even Michelin star chefs probably didn't make anything great their first time. Besides, it wasn't me. His wife already had dinner waiting for him. He said he wanted to bring you over to their place in a couple of days." "Oh, well, would you want to take me?" Isabelle asked, her eyes sparkling. Leo nodded. "Of course. Who else would I take?" "Kevin. I knew you and that knucklehead had something going on." "What?" Since Isabelle only knew how to make simple dishes, Leo took charge of the fish they bought at the store. By almost 1 o'clock, their Christmas lunch was finally ready, filling the entire apartment with a delicious aroma. Buttercream trotted around the living room, tongue lolling out happily. As they sat down at the table across from each other, Isabelle eagerly served Leo a bowl of rice. "Leo, hurry up and eat." "Why are you in such a rush for me to eat?" "Because I worked so hard on this. You don't think I did it all just for you to look at, do you?" she said with a pout, using her chopsticks to place a piece of egg in his bowl. Leo swallowed nervously. The food looked decent enough, but he had no idea what it would taste like. For a moment, he hesitated to even pick up his chopsticks. After a brief pause, he finally lifted them and reached for the piece of egg she had served him. He picked it up, hesitated, put it in his mouth, chewed, and his eyes flew wide open. He stared ahead in disbelief at the incredible flavor. Without looking at Isabelle, he quickly used his chopsticks to sample the other dishes she had made. Grilled cheese with tomato soup. Delicious. Mac and cheese. Delicious. Spaghetti and meatballs. Delicious. He tried every single dish, his shock growing with each bite. The taste was absolutely 100% perfect. Seeing the constantly shifting expressions on his face, Isabelle's own face tensed. "Well, is it good?" she asked nervously. Leo was silent for 2 seconds before he shot his head up, his gaze locking onto hers. "All right, fess up," he said in a low voice. "When did you hide Martha in your kitchen?" "Huh?" Isabelle blinked, looking at him blankly. "What do you mean? If you don't have the Thornton's head cook in there, then your natural talent for cooking is terrifying. I think this is way better than anything I can make," Leo said, his praise utterly sincere. He never would have imagined that her first attempt at cooking would turn out this good. Forget her being a first-timer. Even he, who cooked for himself regularly, couldn't reach this level. She must have a cheat code for cooking or something. There's no other explanation. Hearing his words, the knot of tension in Isabelle's chest finally loosened. She let out a giggle. "And to think you were so suspicious before you even took a bite. Hey, it's only human. It's called talent. Now eat up before it gets cold." With Leo's approval, Isabelle was in a fantastic mood, a smile never leaving her face. Leo, meanwhile, devoured the food, muttering to himself every few bites, "Weird, so weird, and impossible, absolutely impossible." In reality, it didn't take him long to figure it out. They had been together for nearly 6 months, and during their time alone, he'd often heard her unfiltered inner thoughts. He had subconsciously started to forget that back in high school, she was an academic powerhouse whose abilities were every bit his equal. Back when they weren't close, he'd only seen her as a rival. After they got together, he slowly began to suspect that the reason she was always just a few points behind him was that she was doing it on purpose, content to be his little shadow. So, for a girl with such a sharp mind, who had learned from her family's team of professional chefs, it was actually perfectly understandable that her first solo attempt would be so successful. The key to delicious cooking was precise seasoning, temperature control, and timing. All things her family chefs would have drilled into her, and all things she could easily memorize and execute. And the result was this incredible meal that had left him utterly stunned. "So, she was probably letting me win in school," and now she's instantly better than me at cooking. Great. I need a do-over. Next life, give me a superpower or something. Leo thought with a grimace, then went back to eating. After lunch, they washed the dishes together in the kitchen. Then they drew the curtains, snuggled up on the sofa under a blanket, and put a movie on the projector. At some point, they both drifted off to sleep, leaving only the sound of the movie playing in the quiet apartment. It wasn't until early evening that Leo woke up. Leo woke up because he couldn't breathe. He opened his eyes to find Isabelle's flawless face just inches from his. Her hand was pinching his nose shut. What are you doing? You promised you'd watch a movie with me, but you fell asleep, she grumbled, her eyes narrowed. It was clear she had only just woken up herself. Leo felt no guilt whatsoever. You fell asleep too. You can't just blame me. I can and I will, she retorted, her logic unassailable. Seeing her like that, Leo's eyes narrowed playfully. In one swift motion, he wrapped an arm around her waist and, as she let out a little gasp, pulled her onto his lap. He grabbed the remote and rewound the movie to the point where they'd fallen asleep. My fault, he said. I'll rewatch it with you. Isabelle pursed her lips, a blush creeping up her cheeks. She subtly shifted her weight to a more comfortable position on his lap before murmuring, Okay. By the time they finished the movie, it was nearly 9 o'clock. Leo switched on the living room lights and stretched. It's late, he said, turning to her. What do you want to eat? I'm not hungry. Not hungry, he asked, puzzled. She shook her head, then hesitated. I mean, I am hungry, but I have to go back to the estate for a minute. I'll drive you. No, it's fine. I'll have Lester pick me up. At that, Leo's relaxed expression vanished. He looked at her with concern. Why do you suddenly have to go back? Did something happen? Isabelle realized her plan sounded abrupt. Nothing happened, she explained quickly. I just need to grab something. Lester will bring me right back. Really? Isabelle pouted and wrapped her arms around his. I never lied to you. All right then, call Lester. The snow hasn't completely melted, so tell him to drive carefully. You be good and wait for me here. After she left, Leo sat alone on the sofa, watching Buttercream wag her tail by his legs. Buttercream, he muttered, why do you think your sister had to go back to the estate all of a sudden? Woof, woof, woof. Buttercream panted, her head bobbing excitedly. Leo sighed. He knew she was hiding something, but pressing her wouldn't do any good if she wasn't ready to tell him. The round trip from Maplewood to the Thornton estate would take over 2 hours. So, after Isabelle left, Leo went back to 1001, grabbed his laptop, and started catching up on some work for the studio. While he and Isabelle had been napping, Julian Croft had sent over the finalized data analysis and performance report for their Christmas Eve videos. It was 11 o'clock when the door finally clicked open. Isabelle walked in, still in her down jacket. Before Leo could say anything, she had slipped on her slippers and padded over to him. Leo, what are you doing? Just finished up some work. Oh, I'm so sleepy. Let's go to bed. She punctuated the sentence with a yawn, looking genuinely exhausted. Leo frowned. But we just slept for a few hours this afternoon. How are you tired again already? I just am, she said with a pout, pushing on his back. Go take a shower so we can go to sleep. Okay. Though it felt a little strange, Leo didn't overthink it. He stood up, planning to head back to 1001 to shower. All his clean clothes were over there, and he certainly couldn't wear Isabelle's. Even he wasn't that much of a pervert. But as he was about to leave, Isabelle's face tensed. Leo, shower here. My clothes are in my place. What am I supposed to wear after? Just go. I'll get them for you. All right. And just like that, before he could fully process it, Isabelle had pushed him into the bathroom. It wasn't until he was lathering shampoo into his hair that he realized something was terribly wrong. If she's getting my clothes, that means she's getting my underwear. Oh God, she's going to see my entire drawer of boxers. Leo's eyes flew open, his heart pounding so hard he was tempted to run out, naked and dripping, to stop her. But he was already mid-shower, and she had probably already retrieved his clothes. It was too late. He finished his shower in record time and cautiously opened the bathroom door a crack. Isabelle, where are the clothes you got for me? Silence. He sighed. She had probably gotten his clothes and then fallen asleep on the bed. He wrapped a towel from the rack around his waist and stepped out. The only light in the apartment came from the bathroom. The living room and bedroom were dark. He looked around the living room and by the bathroom door, but didn't see any clothes. Confused, he walked into the bedroom. Sure enough, Isabelle was lying on her side, seemingly fast asleep. Not wanting to wake her, Leo tiptoed to the bed, gently lifted the covers, and slid in beside her. When he turned to look at her before going to sleep himself, he was startled. She wasn't asleep at all. Her eyes were open, fixed on him with an incredibly tender gaze. You're not sleeping. No, So where are my clothes? Isabelle remained silent, her soft gaze unwavering. Leo was momentarily stunned. A sliver of moonlight filtering through the window illuminated her face, and he thought her eyes looked softer, hazier than usual, as if veiled in a thin mist. In the quiet intimacy of the room, his heart began to beat faster. Looking at her, so captivating without a trace of makeup, he opened his mouth to ask about his clothes again, but the words wouldn't come out. Isabelle shifted, moving closer until he could feel the warm puff of her breath on his skin. Leo's throat went dry. She gently touched his face, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw, her eyes full of adoration. Her look was like a stone dropped into a calm lake, sending ripples through his entire being. He couldn't hold back any longer. He leaned down and kissed her. At the same time, his hand moved instinctively under the covers, searching for buttons to unfasten. But when his fingers brushed against her shoulder, he froze. There was no strap. She wasn't wearing anything. The realization hit him like a tidal wave, flooding his mind and washing away all the restraint he had so carefully maintained. His hand slid lower. A soft whimper escaped her lips, and her body trembled. The atmosphere had shifted. It was different from any other time before. Finally, Isabelle spoke. Leo. His breathing was heavy, his voice hoarse. You never got my clothes, did you? No. Leo's eyes narrowed. He shifted his weight, moving on top of her. All right, you started this fire. Now you have to take responsibility. She didn't answer, only pursed her lips and reached under the pillow. A moment later, she held up a small, square box. In the moonlight, Leo saw the incredible softness in her eyes, and he saw what she was holding. It was the box of blue devils they had bought together at the store. A rush of heat went straight to his head. He took a deep breath and kissed her again, his hands busier than they had ever been before. She responded, her movements shy but willing. Suddenly, her brow furrowed. She bit her lip and instinctively wrapped her arms around his neck. A flicker of pain brought tears to her eyes. Through her tears, Leo felt all of Isabelle's love and determination. He also felt her nails digging into the flesh of his back. In that moment, enveloped in warmth and softness, Leo was overcome with emotion. From now on, Isabelle wasn't just his girl. She was his woman. Outside, the faint moonlight began to fade, casting the room into deeper shadow. The only sounds were their synchronized breaths and heartbeats, intertwined. A long time later, the room fell quiet. Their breathing slowly returned to normal. Isabelle curled up against his chest, her fingers tracing idle circles on his skin, her face radiating a contentment he'd never seen before. Leo glanced at the open box on the nightstand. When you had Lester take you back to the estate earlier, he began, his voice still raspy. You went to get this, didn't you? MHM, she hummed, her voice soft and laced with shyness. Her admission confirmed his suspicions. From the moment they'd woken up on the sofa that afternoon, she must have been thinking about it. Her insistence on rewatching the movie was probably her working up the courage to go get what she needed. And her pushing him to shower was just another part of her plan. Thinking about it, Leo pulled her closer. Isabelle looked up at him. Leo, she whispered, you can't ever lose me. The next morning, Leo was awakened by sunlight streaming through the window. He instinctively tightened his arm, only to find Isabelle fast asleep, both of her arms wrapped around his left one. His movement must have been too much, because she slowly blinked her eyes open. They were still hazy with sleep. When she saw him staring at her, a memory of the previous night's abandon flashed through her mind, and a deep blush spread across her cheeks. She tried to put on a stern face. Don't look at me, she commanded in her iciest tone, but her voice, still soft and raspy from sleep, made it sound more like a cute complaint. Leo couldn't help but smile. He deliberately let his gaze drift lower. I'm not looking at you. Huh? Confused, Isabelle followed his gaze. She realized the blanket had slipped down, leaving her chest exposed to the cool air. Her face turned an even deeper shade of red as she yanked the blanket up, pulling it over her head until only her wide, watery eyes were visible. Leo, you're a bad person, she mumbled, sounding wronged. How am I a bad person? You said our friendship was purely platonic, and that we couldn't be bad neighbors. But last night, you weren't polite at all. Leo didn't respond immediately, his mind flashing back to certain details from the night before. Like how, at the beginning, she had cried from the pain. Normally, seeing her cry would have made him stop everything to comfort her. But last night, her tears had seemed to have the opposite effect, only making him more intense. She would never dare call him little Leo again. Ahem, let's not mix things up. Leo rubbed his nose, looking slightly embarrassed. To change the subject, he said, "We fell asleep last night without showering again. We should probably do that now. You first, or me? You go first. I am just going to lie here a little longer." "All right." Leo nodded, and without thinking, threw back the covers. A blast of cold air hit him, and he froze. He then sheepishly picked up the towel he'd tossed on the floor the night before, wrapped it around his waist, and headed for the bathroom, scooping up the articles of clothing Isabelle had scattered across the floor on his way. When Leo came out of the bathroom, he found the bedroom door closed. He knocked gently. "I'm done. It's your turn." From inside, Isabelle's soft voice replied, "Go back to your apartment and get dressed. I'll come out after you leave." She paused, then added in a tone that sounded a little insecure, "Don't take too long. Come right back when you're done." "Okay, I will. Go on and get in the shower. Be careful, the floor's slippery." Leo understood. Though he'd been just as inexperienced as her before last night, he had a general idea of how a girl might feel afterward. It was a time when she would likely feel more dependent on her boyfriend, more in need of security. He went back to his apartment and changed quickly, his thoughts constantly on Isabelle. When he returned to 1003, he could hear the shower running. Buttercream and Oscar were lounging on the living room rug, wagging their tails lazily at his return. Bzzz, bzzz, bzzz. A sharp vibration against his thigh made him jump. It took him a second to realize it was just his phone in his pocket. He let out a breath of relief. Thank God. It's the real phone this time, not the backup. He composed himself and answered Kevin's call. "Yo, Leo. I'm back, man. Want to head up the gaming lounge? It's the morning. Who goes to a gaming lounge this early? Besides, we're adults now. A little old for that, don't you think? It's childish." Kevin was baffled. Leo's tone was completely different from usual. He couldn't figure it out. "So, you're saying I should be like you? Working over the holidays?" "No, that's not it. It's Christmas. The tech guys are all working from home for a few days, so there's nothing for you to do right now anyway." "Oh, well, can I come over then? My parents are still out of town, and I'm bored by myself." Leo glanced toward the bathroom. "Don't. I'm busy with important business." About half an hour later, Isabelle finally emerged from the bathroom, her hair dripping wet. She was wrapped in a large white bath towel, her fair shoulders exposed, giving her a touchingly delicate appearance. Her long, model-esque legs were partially visible beneath the towel, and the sight made Leo, who had just looked up, freeze for a moment. He couldn't help but remember those same legs resting on his shoulders the night before. Sensing his gaze, which had quickly grown heated and a little possessive, Isabelle paused, a blush rising on her cheeks. The memory of his intensity from the night before made her instinctively pull the towel a little tighter. "Leo, you're dressed," she said softly, her voice still misty from the shower, breaking the brief silence. Leo nodded. "Yeah, why didn't you dry your hair?" "I was thirsty. I wanted to get some water first." She pointed a delicate finger toward the water cooler. Leo understood and went to get her a cup. Perhaps she was too impatient to wait, as she started walking toward him on her bare, pink-soled feet. But as Leo filled the cup and turned back, he noticed her posture was a little off. His expression changed, his face filling with concern. "Why are you walking like that? Does it hurt a lot?" At his question, her body went rigid, and she froze like a statue. A moment later, an even deeper blush suffused her face. Her eyes darted away as she bit her lower lip. "MHM. A little," she whispered. She consciously tried to slow her steps, to make her gait seem more natural, but the slight awkwardness was still there. Just as Leo was about to speak again, she pursed her lips and continued. "It's mainly just uncomfortable. Every time I move my legs, I feel like..." "Feel like what?" Isabelle nervously fiddled with the corner of her towel, pausing before she bit her lip again. "I feel like you haven't left yet." Leo's breath caught in his throat. Is that even possible?" Recovering, he practically shoved the cup of water into her hands and muttered, "Go dry your hair. Don't want you catching a cold. That would be bad." He then gently steered her back toward the bathroom. Leo had planned to spend the whole day at home with Isabelle. But after lunch, she got a call from Haley. After a short chat, they made plans to go shopping that afternoon. Haley's one condition was that Leo was not allowed to come. As Isabelle, beautifully dressed, was about to leave, Leo finally had to ask, Are you sure you're in any condition to go out?" She turned to him, puzzled. "What's wrong with my condition?" Leo opened his mouth, but the words were hard to find. He cleared his throat, his eyes darting away. "I just read online that, after a girl's first, she's supposed to rest for a bit. Since..." Before he could finish, Isabelle cut him off. "Leo, spend less time on the internet. That's all a lie." She flashed him a sweet smile. "I'm heading out. Lester is waiting for me at the entrance. Oh, and can you change the sheets this afternoon? Click. The door closed, and the apartment fell silent. It wasn't until Buttercream trotted over and rubbed against his leg that Leo snapped out of it. He walked into the bedroom and pulled back the covers. There on the sheet was a small crimson stain. He stared at it for a moment. Then a slow, gentle smile spread across his lips. After washing the sheets and hanging them on the balcony to dry, Leo put on his jacket and went out. He walked to a nearby shop and bought 2 festive wreaths. He planned to hang one on his door and one on the door of 1003. For the past few years, living on his own, he'd never bothered with holiday decorations. After his parents died, he lost faith in concepts like good karma or divine protection. He never saw the point in rituals that were supposed to bring luck or festive cheer. Besides, he didn't have a home, so who was he decorating for? But now he finally had that feeling of home. He wasn't alone anymore. He had Isabelle, who was willing to give him everything. Leo hung the first wreath on 1003's door and was about to hang the second on his own when the elevator dinged. Leo was puzzled. There were only 3 apartments on the 10th floor. He and Isabelle occupied 2, and she had bought the 3rd. No one else should have been coming up. He turned to see Kevin stepping out of the elevator. "TSK, what are you doing here? Didn't I tell you I was busy?" Kevin grinned. "I figured you were with the campus queen, so after our call, I secretly texted her to see if it was a good time to come over. She said she was going out this afternoon, and you'd be alone, so here I am." He held up a bag of gifts. "Here, my parents bought these for you. They wanted me to bring them over." Leo now understood. No wonder Isabelle had agreed to go shopping with Haley without any hesitation. She must have already gotten Kevin's message and known someone would be there to keep him company. The thought warmed him. She was always looking out for him in so many small ways. "All right, put the stuff inside. Let me finish hanging this, and then I have something serious to talk to you about." "Okay." Kevin nodded and took the gifts into Leo's apartment. 5 minutes later, Leo finished with the wreath and walked inside. Kevin was sitting on the sofa, grinning sheepishly and fidgeting. Leo raised an eyebrow. "Kevin, what's with you? Did you drink some bad eggnog over the holiday?" Kevin didn't take offense. He just chuckled. Last night, Clara and I kissed. Last night, Clara and I kissed." Oh, that's it? That's all you've got?" Kevin couldn't believe Leo's deadpan response. He was the one who was shocked now. This wasn't right. In the past, news like this would have sent Leo into a frenzy of questions. What position were they in? Was their tongue involved? But this time, nothing. Leo glanced at him. "It's just a kiss between a couple. What's the big deal? Isabelle and I were making out when you two were still blushing just from holding hands." Kevin's shoulders slumped in defeat. "You've got a point. You and the campus queen are already at that level. Our first kiss probably doesn't seem like a big deal to you." He sighed. What he didn't know was that if he had told Leo this news any time before the previous night, Leo's reaction would have been completely different. But now Leo saw kissing for what it was, a perfectly normal part of a relationship. He didn't feel it was right to tell Kevin what had happened with Isabelle. That was their private business, and he respected her too much for that. He looked at Kevin, his expression turning serious. "Speaking of which, you kissed Clara last night. But yesterday was Christmas Day. Shouldn't she have been in the Ozarks?" "Well," Kevin habitually scratched the back of his head. "You were in the same class as her, so you probably know. She got a scholarship last semester and applied for financial aid. With that, plus the money she saved from her part-time job and our company's donation, she had a little over $10,000. Her dad's leg is bad, so while she had the money, she brought him a Crest for treatment. We met up before they went back home yesterday." Leo listened, a thoughtful look on his face. With just over $10,000, she would have prioritized a local hospital in the Ozarks. It doesn't make sense to come all the way to Crestview, especially over the holidays. The travel costs alone would have eaten up a big chunk of that money. Clara's too frugal for that. If I'm not mistaken, you had a lot to do with this, didn't you? Go on. Tell me how much you fronted for her. Let's hear what a great guy you are." "Yeah, I was involved." Kevin grinned. "But if I just offered her money, she would have refused. So I told her I knew some specialists at a hospital in Crestview and could pull some strings to get a discount on the medical bills. Only then did she agree to bring her dad here. And I wasn't lying about the specialists. I had my dad help me find them. As for the bills, I did secretly cover some of it, but not that much." "Wow, Kevin, you're a real genius," Leo said, his tone dripping with irony. "Leo, why do I feel like you're being sarcastic? Did I do something wrong?" Leo studied Kevin for a long moment, noting the pure innocence in his eyes. The guy truly had no idea. He sighed. "Kevin, sometimes you're adorably clueless. You telling her you know specialists here? That's believable. But saying you could pull strings and get medical bills discounted? Don't you think that sounds ridiculous? You have to remember, this is a girl from a small mountain village who fought her way into CPI. Do you really think she doesn't know that hospital and treatment fees aren't something you can just get a discount on? So, Clara knew I was lying to her. What do you think? Yes, Clara is shy and innocent, but that doesn't mean she's naive. In fact, she's probably more perceptive than you think. Kevin's face fell. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. He had always thought his little schemes were helping her, protecting her. He never imagined that to her, it might have all been a pathetic act of self-deception. After a long pause, he swallowed hard. Then why didn't she call me out on it? He asked, his voice filled with dejection. Why did she play along? Does she think I'm an idiot? That I'm childish? Leo clapped him on the shoulder. No, that's not it. The reason she didn't expose you is because she understands your intentions. She knows you genuinely want to help her, and she knows you did it this way to protect her pride. So she was willing to pretend she didn't know, just to go along with you. Kevin nodded thoughtfully, a mix of emotions churning inside him. He remembered the gentle smile she had given him at the hospital. Now he realized it wasn't a smile of ignorance, but one of understanding, gratitude, and affection. Seeing Kevin's dazed expression, Leo smiled. Don't beat yourself up over it. If Clara was really against what you were doing, she would have called you out the second she figured it out. The fact that she didn't mean she's accepted you, deep down. She sees you two as a team now, so she's not as guarded about you helping her. Leo paused, then changed tack. For example, you've had plenty of opportunities to kiss her before, right? Yeah. Why are you asking? So why didn't it happen before? Why did it happen out of the blue yesterday? Kevin froze, clearly having never considered this. Leo continued. It's because Clara has accepted you completely. She's not as insecure as she was before. So yesterday, she finally crossed the conservative line she had set for herself. The one that said kissing was only for a very serious relationship. Leo, so you're saying, Clara kissed me because she was touched, and because she likes me more than before. MHM. Kevin's gloomy expression vanished, replaced by a look of pure excitement. He grinned foolishly for a few seconds before something occurred to him. Wait a minute. Leo, how do you know all this? This is your first relationship too, isn't it? A small smile played on Leo's lips. It's nothing. Just a whole lot of field research. What? Kevin was confused, but then he just gave Leo the middle finger. Such a show-off. So what? Could you have figured all that out on your own? Well, no. Kevin scratched his head and grinned sheepishly. Leo just grunted, his gaze drifting toward the window. In truth, he was just like Kevin. This was his first real relationship, his first love. Logically, he shouldn't be any more mature in matters of the heart than his friend. And yet, he had just laid out a perfect analysis for him. Maybe I wasn't just saying it for Kevin. Maybe I was saying it for myself, too. Leo looked out at the warm winter sun, a slight smile on his lips, his mind filled with the face of the girl who had stunned the world. The only reason he understood any of this was because Isabelle had walked into his black and white life with a palette of brilliant colors, leaving her footprints all over the first page of his love story. Both he and Kevin were lost in their own thoughts for a while. Finally, Leo broke the silence. All right, let's talk business. About Starfall. At the mention of the studio, Kevin straightened up, the goofy smile gone from his face. Okay, I'm listening. Before the holidays, I hired Julian Croft. He's handling data analysis and SEO now. You should have his contact info, right? If not, I'll send it to you. Kevin blinked, his brain still catching up. Julian Croft? Leo, is this the same Julian Croft I'm thinking of? Yep, the one and only. Holy crap. Kevin looked shocked. Why did you hire that guy? I know it's hard to find good talent, but are we that desperate? Besides, I don't think Starfall is at the needs a corporate villain stage just yet. What are you even talking about? What does that have to do with anything? Your brain works in weird ways. Leo's face darkened, momentarily speechless at Kevin's logic. He took a moment to compose himself before explaining the whole story of how he'd run into Julian on the plane and the value he would bring to Starfall. When he was done, Kevin finally understood. Wow, so that guy really is something else, he mused. Putting our personal feelings aside, he's a genuine talent. A lot more than I am, that's for sure. Yeah, his emotional intelligence isn't a negative, but he's brilliant in every other way. Maybe even more than me. That's why I brought him on. He also mentioned he has professors at the university who support him. So even though we don't like his personality, it's the kind that appeals to old-school, obsessive academics. Down the line, if Starfall needs it, Julian might be our bridge to those connections. Leo continued. Based on our current trajectory, there's a 90% chance all our accounts will hit 1 million followers within a few weeks after the holidays. We're also on track for 2 10 million follower accounts and 3 5 million follower accounts. That kind of success will not only bring in major investment, but also attract other content creators to join us. That lays most of the groundwork for transitioning Starfall into a full-fledged MCN. You'll be responsible for a lot of the remaining details, like public-facing events and future planning. But I've never done any of that, Leo. I don't think I'm qualified. Leo's expression was firm. If you haven't done it, then learn. We still have some time before the transition is complete. Use this window to get qualified. Kevin opened his mouth to protest again, but seeing the resolve in Leo's eyes, he swallowed his words. I get it, Leo. Don't worry, I won't hold you back. Leo glanced at him. If you can't figure it out, learn with Clara. She's a faster learner than you are. You can ask her for help. But why would Clara want to learn this with? Wait a minute. Kevin started out confused, but then his eyes lit up with sudden understanding. Leo remained impassive. Hold it. I didn't say anything. You figure that out yourself. It's your decision. Leo, you're my brother for life. Kevin exclaimed, ecstatic. He knew this meant he would likely be able to work with Clara in the future. Maybe Leo never expected him to be able to handle the job on his own in the first place. Maybe it was meant for Clara all along. After they finished talking about Starfall, Leo and Kevin headed out to the dojo where Miles worked part-time, planning to grab him and head to a gaming lounge. When they arrived, they saw Miles, drenched in sweat but still standing tall, sparring with a student and occasionally offering guidance. He was so focused, every punch and block sharp and powerful, that he didn't notice them come in. Kevin let out a loud whistle. Yo, Miles, going hard, huh? Miles finally looked over, a surprised smile spreading across his face. He stopped and wiped the sweat from his brow with a towel. Leo, Kevin, you guys are here. Kevin grinned. Yeah, when do you get off? The three of us should hit up the lounge. It's been too long. Miles's eyes lit up. Awesome. This class ends in 10 minutes. Just give me a bit. You got it. About 20 minutes later, Miles emerged from the back in his regular clothes, and the three of them headed to the gaming lounge. They found a private room, settled in, and expertly booted up their PCs. They played until almost 6 when Kevin took off his headset. Leo, Miles, you guys should come to my place for dinner tonight. My parents are making a big meal. He paused, then looked specifically at Leo, and, they especially said you should bring the campus queen with you. Bring Isabelle with me? Leo was surprised, but after a moment's thought, it made sense. After the earthquake in the Ozarks, his godparents had had the chance to meet Isabelle while he was unconscious in hospital, but it never happened. He guessed Kevin's mom hadn't wanted to just show up and make Isabelle feel awkward or ambushed, especially without asking him first. The thought touched him. The reason they were so careful about the order of things was because they truly considered him family, and his feelings came first. All right, I'll call her now. She's out shopping with her roommate. Isabelle, I feel like you've been a million miles away all day, Haley said, eyeing her friend curiously. And you keep spacing out and smiling to yourself. Did something else happen between you and Leo that I didn't get to witness for my shipping fix? From the moment they'd met up, Haley had sensed something was off. Very off. She had known Isabelle long enough to understand that while she was cool and distant with strangers, she was different with her friends. Quieter, maybe, but not this. Changed. Today, even that faint coolness had evaporated, replaced by something else. Almost a happy, newlywed glow. What is going on? Isabelle lifted her chin, feigning indifference. Haley, Leo and I are purely platonic. Nothing happened. Right. The more you say that, the more I'm convinced something huge happened. Something that would give me a year's worth of shipping material. Seeing Isabelle's reaction only confirmed Haley's suspicions. She was practically vibrating with curiosity, even suggesting they install a live feed camera in Isabelle's apartment. At the mention of a camera, Isabelle's face tensed. No cameras, she said, her expression dead serious. Why not? What's with the intense reaction? My daily life with Leo is not for public broadcast. It's rated R. It's just some kissing and hugging. What's so R-rated about that? Kids in elementary school know couples kiss, and by middle school they know. Wait a minute. Haley stopped mid-sentence, realization dawning on her. Her eyes went wide, her smile freezing on her face as her jaw dropped. She looked Isabelle up and down as if seeing a stranger, completely stunned. The straw from the boba tea she was holding slipped from her lips, and a drop of tea dripped onto her shoe, unnoticed. After a long moment, Haley found her voice. Isabelle. You and Leo. You didn't. You know. She couldn't bring herself to say the word, opting for frantic, suggestive glances instead. Isabelle looked away, her cheeks flushing as she silently bit her lip. Haley wasn't letting it go. She stepped in front of Isabelle, grabbing her by the shoulders. Come on, tell me. I was thinking about it over the break. There was a while last semester when you'd spend forever in the dorm bathroom after coming back from seeing him. I never understood why, but now. Isabelle, be honest. You were secretly washing your underwear in there, weren't you? And no, I wasn't. Isabelle blurted out, but her flustered expression was a dead giveaway. Haley's smile was triumphant. TSK. Why so nervous? Just admit it. You and Leo these past couple of days. Her voice had gotten louder, drawing curious looks from passersby, but Haley didn't care. All that mattered was getting the truth. Isabelle's eyes darted around as she gently pushed Haley's hands away. She began to mumble. Busy. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. Haley's sharp eyes caught the caller ID, little Leo, and her conviction solidified. She crossed her arms, a smug, I knew it look on her face as she leaned in, trying to eavesdrop. Isabelle pouted and took a few steps back, dodging Haley's nosy gaze. Hello. Are you and Haley still shopping? Listen, I'm with Kevin and Miles. We're going to his place for dinner tonight, and his parents said I should bring you along. The invitation to Kevin's house sent a jolt of shock and delight through Isabelle. Shock because it was so sudden. She knew Leo considered Kevin's parents his godparents. Going to their house was basically the same as meeting his family. It was even more official than meeting Mr. Wallace. The thought of Leo wanting to take her home made her heart race. She bit her lip, her gaze drifting to Haley, who was watching her with a mischievous grin. Okay, I'll get ready. I'll have Lester drive me over. Leo must have heard the nervousness in her voice, because he said softly, Don't be nervous. It's just a casual dinner. Kevin's parents, my godparents, just want to meet you. But it's the first time. Send me the address. I'll be there soon. After she hung up, Isabelle stood frozen, phone still pressed to her ear, her face beat red. Haley sidled up to her. Hello, Earth to Isabelle. He hung up. Can't bear put the phone down. What did your man say to make you blush like a pomegranate? Isabelle pursed her lips, a fresh wave of color rising in her cheeks. She unconsciously tugged at the hem of her shirt, a shy smile playing on her lips, her eyes shining. Haley, she said, her voice filled with a giddy joy. Leo's taking me to meet his parents. What did she say? Kevin asked. She's coming. Told me to send her your address, and she'll have Lester drive her over, Leo said casually, then raised an eyebrow at Kevin. Speaking of which, if your parents are asking me to bring Isabelle, does that mean you have to bring Clara tonight too? Ahem, well, Clara and I are in a different situation than you and Isabelle, so she's not coming over tonight. How is it different? I'm the godson. You're the actual son. Shouldn't you be the one getting scrutinized? Kevin's face fell. I wanted to bring her, but you know how Clara is. I mentioned it, and she said she can only come over to my house when we're talking about marriage. Then she asked if I was absolutely certain I was going to marry her. If not, she wouldn't come, no matter what. And you obviously told her you were certain, right? Kevin scratched the back of his head. I wanted to, but that's a serious promise. I don't feel like I'm at a point where I can guarantee she'll have the best life without any hardships. I didn't want to make a promise I couldn't keep. Plus, my mom told me that if I bring Clara home, she's the only daughter-in-law she'll ever accept. If I don't end up marrying her, my parents will disown me. I had to think it through. Leo made a sound of exasperation. Clara was traditional and conservative. She wouldn't go home with Kevin until she was sure of his intentions. In her hometown, that step meant you were committed for life. But Kevin, a guy who never made promises lightly, wouldn't commit until he was certain he could provide for her perfectly. The result was a stalemate between two people who were normally indecisive, but were now both stubbornly holding their ground. You two are really something else, Leo said with a sigh. All right, let's go. It's not that close to your place, and the traffic is going to be a nightmare. Man, I'm so jealous watching you guys with your relationships. Miles, the perpetual single guy, chimed in, having been silent during their conversation. I wish I had a girlfriend. Kevin laughed and slung an arm around Miles' shoulder. You'll get there. Anyway, let's talk about the game. That last round, if you hadn't been a split second late with that heel, I totally would have turned it around on that Yasuo. Leo shot Kevin a sideways glance. Don't be delusional. That's just one of the 3 great illusions of life. Kevin blinked. What do you mean? The 3 great illusions of life. My phone is vibrating. I can win this fight. And she likes me. By 7 that evening, Leo had driven them back to the Kensington, the residential complex where Kevin lived. The holiday traffic was so bad that it took him several laps to find a parking spot on the street. You guys go on up, Leo said, waving them off after he parked. I'll wait for Isabelle at the gate. Don't be crazy. It's freezing out here. Wait upstairs. You can come down and get her when she arrives. Leo shook his head. If she gets here and doesn't see me, she won't call because she won't want to bother me. But she'll be all shy and conflicted. I'll just wait here to keep her from standing out in the cold. After Kevin and Miles went up, Leo stood at the entrance. He didn't have to wait long before the black Maybach S680 pulled into view. The door opened, and Isabelle got out. "Lester, can you open the trunk?" she asked. "Of course, miss." Lester got out, gave Leo a polite nod and a Mr. Yeager, and then began unloading a mountain of gift bags from the trunk. Leo's eyes widened. "What is all this?" "Gifts for your godparents. It's my first time meeting them. I couldn't come empty-handed." Leo was speechless for a moment, then pointed at an exquisitely wrapped, large box. "Okay, but why did you buy a mahjong set?" "Your godmother likes to play. I had Lester bring the custom set from our house." "And what about those? Are those antique pipes?" Isabelle blinked her coolly beautiful eyes. "Your godfather collects them, doesn't he?" Leo looked up, his expression a mixture of awe and bewilderment. "When did you install surveillance cameras in Kevin's house? And does he know about it?" Honestly, Leo, how did you get so dense over the holidays?" Haley's voice came from inside the car. She finally stepped out, pulling her coat tight. "She found out what your godparents like by texting Kevin, you dummy." Leo froze. He remembered Kevin hunched over his phone in the passenger seat on the drive over. He'd assumed he was texting Clara, but it had been Isabelle, asking him about his parents' hobbies. He looked at Isabelle, his heart filled with a profound sense of gratitude. Lester, having finished unloading the trunk, smiled. "Mr. Yeager, please don't mind. This is Miss Isabelle's first time meeting your family, so she's a bit inexperienced. She may have gone a little overboard. Please, pick out what you think is appropriate, and we can leave the rest." Leo glanced at the pile of gifts on the ground, then at Isabelle, who was nervously clutching the hem of her coat. He took a deep breath and smiled. "Nothing is unnecessary. We're taking it all up." "Okay." Isabelle nodded, then rolled up her sleeves slightly and helped Leo carry the gifts toward the building. Watching them go, Haley sighed. "Lester, do you feel like Isabelle has changed?" Lester nodded. "She has, miss. She's completely given her heart to Mr. Yeager." Ding dong. Leo rang the doorbell, then glanced at the nervous girl beside him and took her hand. "Don't be tense. My godparents are really easy to get along with. They're just like Kevin, very straightforward." "Okay," Isabelle whispered, her grip tightening on his hand as they heard hurried footsteps from inside. The door swung open, and a wave of warm, yellow light and the rich scent of braised pork washed over them. "Oh, Leo, you're finally here." Charlene Cheong stood in the doorway, wearing a floral apron and holding a spatula, a wide smile on her face. Though she called out Leo's name, her eyes went straight to the girl holding his hand. When Charlene got a clear look at Isabelle's stunning face, her hand, still holding the spatula, froze in midair. Her eyes widened. She had seen her on a video call when Leo was in the hospital, but seeing her in person was something else entirely. She was even more beautiful than on screen. Isabelle felt a little flustered under the intense scrutiny. She lowered her head slightly, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Hello, Auntie," she said shyly. Charlene snapped back to reality, realizing she had been staring. She gave an embarrassed laugh, clumsily setting the spatula down on the shoe cabinet. "Oh, hello, dear. You must be our Leo's girlfriend, Isabelle. Don't be nervous. We've met before on video. I just didn't realize you were even prettier in person." She stepped aside. Come in, it's warm inside." "Okay." Isabelle nodded gently and held out the gifts in her other hand. "Auntie, these are for you and Uncle." "Oh, you shouldn't have. Just coming is enough. I'm not a material person at all." "Huh." Charlene's words trailed off as she spotted the custom box containing the mahjong set. Her eyes lit up, and her voice trembled slightly. "If I'm not mistaken, is this a Zeton sandalwood set?" Isabelle offered a small smile. "Yes, it is, Annie." Charlene gasped. "My dear, this must have cost a fortune. Why would you spend so much?" "It's nothing, Andy, as long as you like it. I also brought some antique pipes for Uncle." Isabelle presented another box. Charlene's eyes widened again. She turned and yelled toward the kitchen. "Harvey, stop cooking. Leo's here with his girlfriend, and she brought you a gift." Harvey Cheong, who was stir-frying in the kitchen, turned off the stove and came into the living room. He, too, was taken aback by Isabelle's striking beauty. Then he saw the collection of pipes in the box, and his eyes grew wide. "Whoa, look at the patina on these. Uncle, I heard you were a collector," Isabelle said, carefully opening the box. Four exquisite pipes rested on a bed of velvet. "I brought you a set of century-old, handcrafted briarwoods." "Isabelle, these are far too expensive. I can't accept this." You should take them back. Isabelle didn't retract her hands. Her smile was sincere. Uncle, it's just a small token of my appreciation. I knew you liked them, so I wanted to bring them for you. If you don't accept them, I'll be very sad. Besides, in my mind, these pipes are most valuable when they're with someone like you, who truly understands and loves them. Leo knew the mahjong set and the pipes were likely worth tens of thousands of dollars each. But to Isabelle, that was nothing. She just wanted to make Harvey and Charlene happy. In the past, he might have urged her to take them back, but after last night, he knew she saw them as a single unit. Being overly polite now would only hurt her feelings, making her feel like he didn't consider her his closest person. Godfather, just accept them, Leo said. It's a gift from the heart. Harvey and Charlene, still unaware of Isabelle's family background, hesitated. From a sofa, Kevin chimed in. Dad, just take them. It's not a big deal for her. She just wants to make you and Mom happy. All right then. Thank you, Isabelle. I'll be shameless and accept, Harvey finally said, taking the pipes. You chat with your Andy. I have one more dish to finish, and then we can eat. Charlene beamed and took Isabelle's hand, leading her to the sofa. Seeing Kevin sprawled out playing on his phone, she kicked his foot. Go on, get out of here. Go to your room. Stop taking up space. Kevin stared at his mother, bewildered. Mom, if I remember correctly, I'm your actual son. Isabelle is the guest. What about me? Charlene's eyes narrowed, and she reached for his ear. Kevin scrambled off the sofa and fled to his room, with Miles sheepishly following behind him. Charlene then sat down, patting the spot next to her. Isabelle, sit here, dear. She pushed a bowl of cherries and clementines closer. Make yourself at home, and make sure you have some of my pork rib soup at dinner. Thank you, Aunt. Isabelle, who had been so nervous, finally relaxed into a genuine smile, though her nose began to sting with emotion. She loved this atmosphere. She truly loved it. Maybe this is what a real home is supposed to feel like. Ever since Mom passed away, I haven't felt anything like this. Home stopped being a home, and Dad stopped being just my dad. Still standing in the entryway, Leo Yeager watched as his little neighbor, already curled up on the sofa, started peeling a tangerine. He couldn't help but laugh. He was finally getting a taste of what it felt like to be Kevin Sheung every time Leo visited his house, completely ignored by the parents. Leo cleared his throat and gestured at the pile of gift bags on the floor. So, Charlene, where should I put the rest of these? Oh, just anywhere is fine, sweetie. Right. Leo rubbed his nose, feeling the sting of being dethroned. Still, seeing Isabelle looking so much more relaxed on the sofa, the knot in his chest finally loosened. He slipped into Kevin's room to hang out with him and Miles. About 20 minutes later, Harvey Sheung's voice boomed from the dining room. Dinner's ready. The six of them gathered around the table, the sound of a holiday special on the TV filling the air. Harvey was the first to raise his glass of whiskey. All right, let's have a toast. To Isabelle, for joining us for the first time. Everyone raised their glasses, the clinking sound crisp and cheerful. Even Isabelle, who barely ever drank, took a small, hesitant sip of the amber liquid. As they began to eat, Charlene Sheung kept using the serving spoons to pile food onto Isabelle's plate. Isabelle, honey, you have to eat more. You're just gorgeous, but you're a little too thin. Kevin tells me your father is a very busy man, so I doubt he's around to make sure you're eating properly. When you're here, you eat. Okay, I will. Thank you, Mrs. Sheung, Isabelle murmured, a shy smile gracing her lips. Leo heard Charlene's words and understood immediately. She'd said, your father is a very busy man, not your parents. It was clear Kevin had given his mom a heads up about Isabelle's family situation. He shot Kevin a grateful look. But Kevin, ever the knucklehead, was oblivious. He just grinned back at Leo, his mouth full, a goofy smile on his face. The table was filled with light conversation before everyone dug in. Seeing the others start, the usually reserved Isabelle finally picked up her fork, the steam from the hot food swirling around her. But just as she was about to take a bite, her pretty face froze. She stared down at the mountain of food piled on her plate, her lips pressed into a thin line, her eyes wide. Help! By the time dinner was winding down, Charlene set down her fork and smiled warmly at Isabelle. So, Isabelle, how long have you and our Leo been together? Isabelle paused for a second, then answered without hesitation. 142 days. Charlene blinked, momentarily stunned. She'd expected an answer like a few months or about 4.5 months. She never imagined Isabelle would have it down to the exact day. A new wave of approval washed over her as she looked at the girl. And have you too? Consider when you might want to get married? Leo nearly choked. Fearing Isabelle would be too embarrassed to answer, he quickly jumped in. Charlene, we haven't even been together a year yet. It's way too early to talk about marriage. Besides, we're not even old enough. You keep out of this. Why are you starting to act like Kevin? Charlene swatted Leo's arm playfully before turning back to Isabelle with a smile. Isabelle, dear, don't mind me for asking so much or thinking so far ahead. It's just that Leo's parents passed away when he was young, and he doesn't have any other family. Harvey and I are the closest things he has to a mom and dad. So it's up to us to worry about the big moments in his life. The most important thing for us is to know if you two are serious about spending your lives together. If you are, then what I'd love to see most is for you two to get married right after you graduate from college. You'll both be of legal age by then. A warmth spread through Leo's chest. Kevin's parents didn't just say they thought of him as a son. They showed it. But he also knew this kind of conversation was probably overwhelming for Isabelle. He was about to interject again when he felt a small hand slip into his under the table. Isabelle looked at Charlene and Harvey. She, I know you're the people who care most about Leo in this world, so this question is very important to you. But when Leo and I get married isn't up to me to decide. Charlene's expression faltered. During dinner, she and Harvey had gathered that Isabelle's family was extraordinarily wealthy, the kind of old money that was completely out of reach for ordinary people. The fact that she was dating Leo at all was a miracle. The decision to marry, of course, wouldn't be hers alone. It would require the approval of her father and the rest of her family. A pang of disappointment hit Charlene. She knew what this usually meant. Still, she forced a smile. You're right, of course. That was presumptuous of me. I wasn't considering your family situation. But Isabelle shook her head, her expression earnest. You've misunderstood me, Mrs. Xiong. What I mean is, when Leo and I get married isn't up to me, and it isn't up to my father. It depends on when Leo is willing to marry me. She turned her gaze to Leo, her eyes shining. If you were to ask me tomorrow, I would start planning tonight, and I would joyfully marry him tomorrow. A stunned silence fell over the dinner table. Everyone was floored by her direct and passionate declaration. It took Charlene a moment to recover. Her eyes welled up with tears. She took Isabelle's hand, her voice thick with emotion. Oh, sweet girl, for you to say that, it means the world to me. Leo finding you is the best thing that has ever happened to him. I'm not exaggerating when I say you're an angel sent from heaven to save him. Harvey, a man of few words, just nodded vigorously, his face a mask of heartfelt approval. Leo felt a prickling behind his own eyes. He never cried in front of anyone, but his vision was suddenly a blurry mess. Last night, Isabelle had given him the most precious, sincere part of herself. And now, in front of everyone, she had declared, without a hint of hesitation, her readiness to marry him whenever he asked. This girl, she had left herself no way out. Beneath the table, Leo squeezed her hand tightly. Isabelle turned to him, her eyes crinkling into a beautiful, smiling crescent. After dinner, everyone gathered on the sofa to watch TV while Harvey washed the dishes in the kitchen. Charlene finished peeling a pomelo and offered a slice to Isabelle. Here, Isabelle, have some fruit. Thank you, Mrs. Xiong. Charlene laughed, a teasing glint in her eye. Still calling me Mrs. Xiong? After saying you're ready to marry our Leo at a moment's notice, don't you think it's time you call me something else? She pulled 2 Christmas cards from her pocket. Here, I got these for you. One of them is only for you if you change what you call me. Of course, if you're not ready, that's fine. I can hold on to it for you until after you and Leo are married. Isabelle's cheeks flushed a delicate pink. She bit her lip, then said softly, Happy New Year. Charlene, oh my sweet girl, Happy New Year to you too. Charlene beamed, pressing both cards into Isabelle's hands. You have to come visit more often, you hear? I'll cook for you, and there will always be a gift waiting. And if you ever need anything, or if anyone gives you trouble, you come right to me. I'll take care of you. Sitting on the other end of the sofa, Kevin couldn't help but pout. Mom, that is so unfair. My Christmas card only had $200 in it. You gave Leo $1,000, and Isabelle's first one is $1,000, and that second one is so thick, I bet it's got 10 grand in it. I'm your actual son. Charlene sniffed. So what? You're earning your own money now. I'm surprised I didn't ask you for a gift. Be grateful. But Leo and Isabelle have way more money than I do. Why don't you make them give you gifts? Charlene rolled her eyes. Haven't you heard? Beauty has its privileges. I mean, even criminals get defenders if they're good-looking enough. Leo and Isabelle are so adorable, so I get to be a little silly and give them more money. What's it to you? Kevin's jaw dropped. He stared at his mother, his entire worldview crumbling around him. She's lost her mind, he thought. The whole world has gone insane. Ignoring her shell-shocked son, Charlene handed him her empty soup bowl. Don't just sit there gawking. Go give me another bowl of that pork rib soup. I can get it, Charlene, Isabelle offered, taking the bowl and heading toward the kitchen. She stood before the pot of soup and glanced back at the living room, at the scene so full of warmth and home. A smile bloomed on her face. She had known Sharon Thornton for years and had never once called her mom. Yet after meeting Charlene for the first time, the new name had come from the heart. She could feel the genuine love radiating from this woman. Isabelle looked down, and a single tear dropped from her eye, landing with a soft plip in the golden broth, sending tiny ripples across the surface. It was 10:30 at night. Lester was driving, with Leo and Isabelle in the back of the Maybach. You know you can't handle your liquor, so why did you have 2 more glasses tonight? Leo said, gently supporting Isabelle, whose face was flushed a deep red. After dinner, Harvey had proposed another round of drinks and caught up in the happy atmosphere. Isabelle had joined in. The moment the cold night air hit her as they left Kevin's house, she was completely drunk. Now, she was leaning against Leo, as limp as a rag doll. Suddenly, she shifted, tilting her face up to his. Leo, she cooed. Kiss. Ahem. A little decorum, please. We're not at home. Lester is right there. Leo coughed, embarrassed. He gently turned her face away. From the driver's seat, Lester's voice was full of grandmotherly warmth. Don't mind me, Mr. Yeager. Just pretend I'm not here. You and Miss Thornton do whatever you need to do. What? Phew. Finally home. Leo laid Isabelle on the bed and let out a long breath. He went to feed Buttercream and Oscar, who had been hungry all evening, then quickly washed up before turning off all the lights except for the one in the bedroom. He carefully helped Isabelle out of her coat and shoes. Just as he was about to take off her socks, she seemed to stir. Feeling someone touching her feet, she let out a series of giggles, her legs kicking out wildly, nearly connecting with his face. Leo sighed, a helpless smile on his face. He spent a few minutes calming her down before trying again. The moment his fingers touched her foot, she started kicking again. He finally put on a stern face, staring at her feet. If you kick again, I'm not going to be so nice, he warned. As soon as the words left his mouth, something fell out of her pants pocket. Clink! Leo looked down and held his breath. There on the floor lay a single, unopened box of Blue Devils. Leo's throat bobbed as he stared at the box of Blue Devils on the floor. The overhead light seemed to spotlight it perfectly, illuminating the bold, red letters, strawberry-flavored. Each letter was a direct assault on his self-control. Damn! Strawberry this time. He suddenly felt the room's temperature spike by several degrees. It was getting. Gulp. Leo swallowed hard, let go of Isabelle's foot, and reached for the box on the floor. Just as his fingers grazed the cardboard, a small, hot hand pressed down on his. Startled, Leo looked up. Isabelle, no longer looking so drunk, had propped herself up on the bed. Her eyes were wet and shimmering like obsidian stones submerged in spring water. She squinted, leaned in close to his face, and studied him for a long moment. Her gaze flickered down to the box he just picked up. A slow, mischievous grin spread across her face. She draped herself over his shoulders, her breath smelling of sweet fruit wine, ghosting over his ear. Leo, you're going to be not so nice to me again. When I said not so nice, I meant you should stop kicking. Isabelle hummed. Then why are you holding the box of bad neighbors? Leo froze, then retorted. This fell out of your pocket. I think you wanted me to be not so nice, didn't you? Oh. Seeing her confused look, he narrowed his eyes. All right, fess up. Where did you buy this? I didn't know anything about it. The alcohol had clearly slowed her down. Her face was flushed, and she blinked slowly, processing his question. After a long pause, she pouted. I grabbed it from the shelf when Haley and I were shopping this afternoon. TCH, you were crying in pain last night, remember? A soft, drunken smile touched her lips. I remember, she whispered. But tonight, I promise I'll try not to cry. The memory of last night flashed through his mind. In the dim light, her eyes had been filled with tears, her body trembling as she unwrapped the first box. A tear had clung to her eyelashes, refusing to fall, as she looked up at him with a stubborn determination. The image alone was enough to send his breathing into disarray. He glanced at the girl beside him. The collar of her sweater had slipped off her shoulder, revealing the faint, reddish love bites on her collarbone, like faded plum blossoms under the moonlight. Leo swallowed again. He reached for the comforter to cover her, then stood up and turned off the bedroom light. His voice came out raspy. Stop messing around. Go to sleep. You're drunk. If this kept up, Buttercream and Oscar were going to get a front row seat to a very R-rated show. Not drunk. Isabelle mumbled from under the covers, squirming around. A moment later, she pushed a pile of equipment out from under the blanket. Among them was the gray, strapless bra Leo had seen once before at her bathroom. Leo's breath hitched. His heart skipped a beat. His deep breath. He tried to reason with himself. Just one kiss. A goodnight kiss. Nothing wrong with that. Perfectly normal. He leaned down to kiss her. As he did, she slid a smooth arm from under the covers and wrapped it around his neck. MMPH, this time he finally knew what a wine-flavored kiss tasted like. The kiss deepened, and Isabelle, far from being cooperative, started pulling him insistently into the bed. And so, with his willpower utterly defeated, Leo tumbled into the covers. He could feel the heat radiating from her body, saw the pink blush that dusted her cheeks, and the undisguised love swimming in her eyes. All right then, I'm not going to be so nice. She hummed. The night was a deep, endless bolt of black silk, wrapping the world in a gentle embrace. Moonlight filtered through the thin curtains, casting silver patches on the floor. A faint scent of strawberries lingered in the air. Isabelle was fast asleep in Leo's arms, her breathing even, a slight smile on her lips, her cheeks still faintly flushed. Leo lay on his side, one arm around her, the other tucked under his head, watching her beautiful, sleeping face. After their intimacy, the independent young man found his mind drifting to the past. He remembered the first day of senior year, just over a year ago. No one, least of all him, could have imagined that a rich girl in a Maybach S680 would transfer to Northwood High. The moment she appeared, she became the dream girl for countless boys. Even Leo, whose mind was consumed with surviving and making a future for himself, had been stunned by her beauty. And he remembered that night a few months ago, when Isabelle had shown up at the 10th floor elevator with her suitcase. He never would have guessed that just a few months later, they would be lying in the same bed. Of course, back then, he also never imagined he would be able to hear the Ice Queen's inner thoughts, especially that one line, "Next step, move onto your bed." That had shocked him for a long, long time. And now, her inner voice. Wait, where's her inner voice? The memory snapped him back to the present. He suddenly realized something was wrong. He hadn't heard her inner voice all day. No, it had been since last night. He hadn't heard a single thought from her. No, that's not right either. It wasn't just last night. I think it stopped yesterday afternoon. When was the last time I heard it? He frowned, racking his brain. And then he remembered. The last time he'd heard her thoughts was yesterday morning at the supermarket, right after he'd won the prize game and proven to her that they were destined to be together. It was at the exact moment he had kissed her. Her final thought had been a wave of overwhelming love. I want to marry you so much. As the memory settled, Leo understood. Perhaps that kiss in the supermarket, that moment when she had been so desperate to know if she and that stuffed bear were fated, was her mirroring his own thoughts. She wanted proof that she and Leo were truly meant to be. When he provided that proof, it became the turning point, the watershed moment that allowed their love to deepen. After that, she had given all of herself to him, without reservation. Which means, from now on, I'll never hear her inner voice again. I want to marry you so much, he whispered, her final thought echoing in his mind. And he thought, want to marry the girl who wants to marry me so much. The next morning, Leo was woken up by his phone alarm. He slowly opened his eyes and instinctively reached for Isabelle. His arm met empty space. Leo blinked, confused. The space beside him was empty, and all the equipment she had so boldly unveiled last night was gone. She was already awake. This was the first time since they'd started sleeping together that she'd woken up before him. Before he could fully shake off his sleepiness, Isabelle walked back into the room, her hair still slightly damp, wearing her pajamas. The drunken flush was gone, replaced by her usual cool composure. She saw he was awake and narrowed her pretty eyes, her lips pressed together. Leo, you were not so nice to me again last night. I asked for your permission before I was not so nice. Isabelle's face tightened. I was drunk, she said, her voice full of righteous indignation. I don't remember anything. You must have tricked me. And what about the box of Blue Devils you bought beforehand? What Blue Devils? I don't know what you're talking about. Leo had to bite back a laugh at her stubborn denial. This only confirmed his suspicion from last night. He couldn't hear her thoughts anymore. If this had been before, her mind would have been screaming a series of embarrassed S right now. This time, there was only silence. But he didn't feel a sense of loss. Even though he could no longer hear her thoughts, he now knew her well enough to understand what she was thinking just from her words and actions. He didn't need the cheat code of hearing her thoughts anymore. So, the door to her mind, which had been open only to him, could close. It was okay. With that thought, Leo threw back the covers, got out of bed, and gently pinched her cheek. What do you want for breakfast? Should I cook, or we'll get something for downstairs? I'm not eating. Lester is already waiting downstairs. I have to go back to New York with him. My flight is at 10:30. Leo's eyebrows shot up. You're going back? So suddenly? Isabelle shook her head. The ticket was booked before I even came to Crestview. I want to stay, I really do, but I have other family in New York besides my dad. I have to go see them. Okay. A small pang of disappointment hit him, but he didn't let it show. The fact that she had been able to spend 3 days with him was already more than he had expected. Besides, she wasn't like him. She had relatives to visit during the holidays. It was the right thing to do. All right then, Leo nodded. Let me get dressed, and I'll walk you down. Okay. Leo grabbed his clothes and went to the living room to change while Isabelle quietly closed the bedroom door to change herself. Even after their most intimate moments, some things were still a little shy for a young couple. Once they were both dressed, they left with Buttercream and Oscar. They walked hand in hand toward the apartment complex entrance, where they saw the black Maybach parked by the curb. They both stopped. Isabelle bit her lip, then opened her arms. You can give me one more hug before I go, she said, her tone attempting to sound cool and aloof. Leo chuckled and pulled her into an embrace. He knew that after this, he probably wouldn't see her again until the new semester started. That was still half a month away. He released her, cupped her face, and leaned in to give her a proper goodbye kiss. Isabelle closed her eyes and rose onto her tiptoes, tilting her face up to meet his. The moment their lips touched, a loud laugh erupted from nearby. They both jumped back, startled. I knew it. I knew you two wouldn't be able to separate without one last kiss. Haley Xia's cheerful voice came from behind them. They turned to see her emerging from behind a large oak tree, where she had clearly been hiding. Leo stared at her, dumbfounded. Haley, what are you doing here? Yesterday, while you and Isabelle were at your godparents' house, Lester was driving me home. I found out from him that she was leaving this morning, so I asked him to pick me up on the way here. I wanted to see her off. Haley paused, giving Isabelle a meaningful look. I texted you last night, but you never replied, so I didn't want to bother you. I figured you two were busy having your own private little world. I hid behind that tree this morning, just waiting to catch you two kissing. So sweet. Haley. Isabelle's face turned bright red, and for once, a hint of reproach entered her voice. Haley just giggled and linked arms with her. Don't worry, Isabelle. You can go back to New York with peace of mind. While you're gone, I'll keep a close eye on Leo for you. If he dares to even look at another girl, I'll take care of him for you in a heartbeat. Leo's mouth twitched. Wow, thanks so much for your help. With Haley there, Leo wasn't worried about Isabelle being lonely on the way to the airport. He said a few more words to her, handed over Buttercream and Oscar, and then shooed them toward the car. Isabelle nodded, gave him a small wave, and started walking. Leo stood in place, watching her go. Just as she reached the car and Lester got out to open the door for them, Isabelle suddenly stopped. She bit her lip, then, throwing caution to the wind, turned and ran back toward him. Seeing her running back, Leo was stunned for a second before he rushed forward to meet her. She crashed into his arms, hugging him tightly one last time. Leo, she whispered fiercely, you'd better miss me. Leo stood at the entrance of a Maplewood, watching the black Maybach S680 disappear from view. He lingered for a long time, staring into the distance where it had vanished. The ringing of his phone finally jolted him back to reality. Hello, he answered without looking at the caller ID, his voice thick with the ache of parting. Hello, Leo, are you awake? I am now. Leo was startled by Quinn Fan's booming voice on the other end. He was so loud and excited that Leo's lingering sadness was instantly obliterated. Quinn, you don't have to yell to wish me a happy new year. It's a good thing I was already awake, or you might have given me a heart attack. New year? Who cares about the new year? How can I not be excited? Quinn was practically vibrating, his words tumbling out in a stutter. Leo could tell he was trying to contain an explosive level of joy. Okay, man, take a breath. Slow down. No time to slow down. It blew up. The video we posted on the Ruby U account 2 days ago blew up. It's at 2.2 million likes right now. It's trending, and it's still climbing. More importantly, it's being shared everywhere. Content creators are making response videos. People are clipping it. It's gone completely viral. Leo's fingers tightened around his phone, his knuckles turning white in the cold air. The sound of a distant car horn mixed with Quinn's frantic report, buzzing in his ear like static. Quinn, say that again. I saw that video myself, Leo said, his voice raspy. Yesterday afternoon, it only had about 100,000 likes, just normal traffic. How did it? Overnight. He could hear the tremor in his own voice. He didn't quite believe it, but Quinn's raw excitement was making it impossible to deny. 2.2 million. Starting around 11 last night, it's been gaining about 100,000 likes an hour. Even now, it's still growing by 5 to 10,000 likes every hour. Quinn was almost screaming, and our DMs are flooded. The business inquiry line is blowing up. Brands are asking for our rates. The craziest part is a company that specializes in refurbished electronics offered us a 6-figure retainer. Just like that. The news hit Leo like a physical blow. He stumbled back against the complex's wrought iron fence. The cold metal pressed through his jacket, a sharp reminder that this was real. Just as he had predicted before the holidays, Starfall needed to seize the opportunity Christmas break provided to make a name for itself. But this was far beyond his wildest expectations. Wait, Leo suddenly latched onto a key detail. Quinn, you said the video is being clipped and shared? What's the main part people are focusing on? Oh man, you should just come to the office. It's too much to explain over the phone. As soon as I saw what was happening late last night, I called all the local staff and offered them triple pay to come in today. I'm almost there now. Vince and Don are on their way too. Okay, I'm on my way, Leo said immediately. If there was a follow-up video scheduled for that account today, tell the team to hold off. Don't post anything until we've had a chance to talk. Got it. After hanging up, Leo turned and sprinted toward his car. The entire drive to the office, his heart hammered against his ribs. While waiting at a red light, he pulled up the RubyU TikTok account. The numbers were real. Over 2 million likes. And the likes and shares were still climbing at a terrifying rate. Leo knew it wasn't just the quality of their content. The video had resonated with a specific audience, who then shared it, creating a chain reaction. This triggered TikTok's promotion algorithm, pushing it out of smaller traffic pools until it reached the level of being manually promoted. Simply put, the platform itself was now pushing their video for them. They didn't even need to pay for ads. A thrill shot through him. He knew this could be it. This could be the breakthrough that transformed Starfall from a small studio into a major MCN company. Less than an hour later, he pulled up to the office building and ran into RubyU, who was getting out of a taxi. Her face lit up when she saw him. Leo, you must have gotten a call from Quinn, right? Our video exploded. Yeah, and it's still growing. Looks like it met the platform's conditions for manual promotion. They're pushing hard now. Ruby nodded in agreement. That has to be it. Man, I'm so jealous. This Starfall account that Quinn and I star in was the first one we made, and now this new one has completely eclipsed it. But it's all thanks to you. If you hadn't insisted on exploring this new content lane, this never would have happened. Looks like you were right to oppose Sean's more cautious plan. Yeah, Leo nodded, a feeling of validation finally sinking in. At the time, Sean and the others had been against his idea. Even Ruby, who had been cautiously optimistic, didn't fully support him because of her loyalty to Sean. If it weren't for his veto power as a majority shareholder, they might have waited until after the new year to even try the RubyU account. The holiday viral moment would have been completely missed. The two of them rode the elevator up to Starfall's floor. When they walked in, several employees were already at their desks, including Julian Croft. When Julian saw Leo, he let out a cold snort. Well, Jaeger, I'll give you this. The RubyU video blew up overnight because your plan to tap into holiday user sentiment was a direct hit. The content quality was high, leading to an insane completion rate, and you got lucky by piggybacking on a trending hashtag. That pushed it onto the trending list, and the platform's promotion team took over. Now it's being distributed manually. If my forecast is correct, this video should break 3 million likes within the next 3 days. He paused, a dismissive look on his face. You got lucky this time. Leo just smiled at him. Luck is a part of the game, he said calmly. Besides, this was all part of the plan. Just another day at the office. You son of a... Julian muttered a string of curses under his breath. The other employees nearby stared, their eyes wide. Damn, this kid just cursed out the big boss. He's certifiable. Leo's grin widened, but he didn't rise to the bait. Bring your laptop, he said, his tone all business. We're having a meeting. No, it's a shareholder meeting. Why would I be there? Julian adjusted his glasses, flatly refusing. Just as Ruby was about to speak, Leo held up a hand to stop her. He looked at Julian again. Don't you want to know how Starfall's management actually makes decisions? You want to steal our success and start your own company, right? Well, this is your chance. Come to the meeting. Consider it a learning opportunity. That makes sense. Julian nodded immediately, grabbed his laptop, and strode into the conference room. The onlookers were dumbfounded. Leo shrugged at Ruby and Quinn, then gestured toward the back of Julian's head and tapped his own temple. The two of them understood instantly and said nothing more as they followed Leo into the room. Sean's in New York visiting family for a few more days. Quinn explained once they were seated. He was going to fly back as soon as he heard the news, but something came up, so he won't be able to make it. Leo, you should lead this one. We'll send him the minutes afterward, and we can make adjustments if he has any feedback. Sean has family in New York? Leo was surprised for a moment, then realized it made sense. The founders of Starfall, like Sean and Ruby, didn't come from ordinary backgrounds. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to pull together hundreds of thousands of dollars to start business. It wasn't a stretch to think Sean's family was based in New York. He didn't dwell on it. He nodded and got straight to the point. This video going viral wasn't pure luck. Sean and I carefully planned our holiday content strategy. Quinn, when you called, you mentioned the video was being clipped and re-uploaded. What part are people focusing on? Julian, sitting off to the side, typed a few keys and answered first. 80% of the fan edits are clipped to the final half second, the shot where the Maybach's rear window rolls down. In the comments, 39. 4% of users are speculating about the identity of the person seen in silhouette. Furthermore, a keyword search shows a proliferation of user-generated videos discussing who this mystery person could be. He paused. I'm a data analyst, not a scriptwriter. I don't understand the creative side. But from an audience perspective, to get me to like the next video, you have to feature this mysterious figure again. It's the only way to maintain momentum. Otherwise, you risk overhyping and disappointing the user base, which could lead to them unfollowing the account. In that scenario, there's a 90% chance we lose that segment of the audience for good. The next time they see our content, they'll remember their disappointment and just scroll past. Ruby immediately jumped in. If I remember the script, that silhouette was just a minor background character. He's not even in the next video. If we want to keep the heat, we'll have to get the main actors for the Ruby U account back for a reshoot. That shouldn't be too hard. They're all local. We can have the editors work overnight, and the new video could be ready by tomorrow morning. We'd only be half a day behind schedule. Quinn nodded in agreement, his face alight with excitement again. The thought of so easily maintaining their viral status was intoxicating. But Leo wasn't so optimistic. He frowned, mulling it over. Finally, he shook his head. Doing that for the next video might maintain the heat, but what about the one after that? And the one after that? To truly capitalize on this moment and maximize the company's gains, we can't just keep dangling the same carrot in front of our audience. They'll get tired of it, and the anticipation will fade. A person's sense of anticipation for anything diminishes over time. Quinn and Ruby looked at him, confused. So what do? They asked in unison. We spin the mystery man off into his own account, Leo said. That way, all the users curious about his identity will follow him directly. We'll create a dedicated team to manage that account and build a unique persona for him, just like our other creators. He'll gain followers at an incredible rate, and we'll have saved all the money we would have spent on boosting a new account. Even after the hype from the original video dies down, we'll have already maximized and transferred that value. We'll have used this opportunity to launch another successful creator at almost zero cost. He narrowed his eyes, the plan crystallizing in his mind. Furthermore, we're at the stage where we need to seek investment for expansion. The rapid growth of this new account will be a major selling point for potential investors. It's a win-win-win. As he finished speaking, he surprised even himself. The idea had come to him almost fully formed, with barely a conscious thought. Ruby and Quinn exchanged a look, their faces a mixture of shock and awe. That could actually work. Following Leo's proposal, most of Starfall's employees returned to work just a few days after Christmas. Leo himself was thrown into a whirlwind of meetings with investors and day-to-day operations. But every night, without fail, he would video call Isabelle for an hour. Far away in New York, she was growing bolder, often teasing him just before he went to sleep. Leo, why are you looking at me like that? Are you thinking about being not so nice to me again? Did you want to buy some more Blue Devils? You're a bad man, Leo Yeager. I was crying last time, and you just looked at my face and got even less nice. Leo stared at the messages, a slow grin spreading across his face. He glanced at his calendar. 5 days until the new semester started. TSK, what time is the first flight to New York tomorrow morning? Just as Leo was frantically searching for flights from Crestview to New York, a flood of work-related messages came through on Starfall's business group chat. He opened it and felt a headache coming on. Ever since the Ruby U video had gone viral, followed by Leo's quick decision to maximize the hype, Starfall's growth had been meteoric. In the days since, not just Leo, but every single employee had been swamped. Even those who had gone home for the holidays were being asked to work a few hours from home each day. After consulting with Sean, Leo had decided to double their already generous overtime pay. Sigh. Fine. I'll just wait for school to start. It's only 5 more days. Leo looked at the long list of tasks and sighed. He checked the time. Only 7 in the evening. This was the earliest he had finished work in days. He packed up his things and left the office. As he stepped out of the building, a blast of cold air hit him. He saw a group of high school students in their school uniforms across the street. Their spring semester had already started a week or two ago. It struck him then that just a few months ago, he was one of them, a high school senior drowning in college prep. In such a short time, he had transformed into a major shareholder of a digital media studio. No, a full-fledged company. But then another thought hit him. He was still just a college freshman. Compared to all the sharks out there, I'm probably still a total amateur, right? The worst I've done is fleece Rex Gow a little. I'm basically a saint. He tried to console himself, but this time, it didn't work. He tilted his head back and looked up at the darkening sky, a wave of melancholy washing over him. He could share the joy of his success with Isabelle, but she was his girlfriend. The thrill of this kind of life-altering, class-jumping success. It felt like something you could only truly share with family to get that deep sense of comfort and accomplishment. But that was a feeling Leo was destined never to experience. Having Kevin's parents as godparents was wonderful, but it wasn't the same as having his own. He sighed again, shaking the sudden mood from his head. And then he remembered something important. He needed to visit Walter Wallace. Since Isabelle left, I've been so busy I completely forgot. He muttered, a pang of guilt striking him. Over the holidays, Mr. Wallace had been thinking of him, even stopping by with gifts and a Christmas card, inviting him and Isabelle over for dinner. And Leo had let it slip his mind. He immediately drove to a high-end liquor store and bought a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle and 2 boxes of expensive cigars, along with a bag of artisanal coffee. Then he stopped at a department store and picked up a luxury skincare set and a designer scarf. At 8:30, carrying the gifts, he knocked on Walter Wallace's door. "Who is it?" a woman's voice called from inside. It was his wife, Sharon. Leo paused, then smiled. "Sharon, it's me, Leo." "Leo." He heard her familiar voice, and the door swung open. Seeing her after so long, Leo smiled and held out the bags. "Hi, Sharon. I came to see you and Walter. Is he around?" He is. He's in his study. I'll go get him." "Oh, you sweet boy. You came to visit. You didn't have to bring all this. You're still in school. If you really must buy us things, you should wait until after you graduate." Sharon chided him as she took the bags, but there was no real admonishment in her tone. Leo smiled. "Sharon, Walter probably told you I'm running my own business now, right?" She playfully slapped his arm. "So what if you are? Even if you're making money, you can't be so reckless with it. Have you forgotten those days in high school when you and Justin were working part-time at the distribution center? Your uncle and I don't need these things. You should take them back. Use that money to buy something for yourself. And I hear you have a girlfriend now? That's even more reason to save. You've had a tough life, son. There's no one to help you save your money, so you have to do it yourself." "It's okay, Sharon. I picked these out especially for you and Walter. You can't return a gift that's been given." "Oh, you—" Before Sharon could finish, the study door opened. Walter Wallace, wearing reading glasses, stepped out. "Walter," Leo said politely. "Ah, Leo, you're here." Where's Isabelle? Didn't she come with you?" Walter took off his glasses and looked behind Leo, a curious expression on his face. Leo explained, "She went back to New York a while ago. Her family is there. She was just in Crestview to spend a few days with me." "Ah, of course." Walter nodded. "You haven't eaten yet, have you, Leo?" "No, I was planning on eating when I got home." Walter shook his head and turned to his wife. "Sharon, why don't you heat up the leftovers?" "Oh no, please don't go to the trouble." Leo started to refuse, but Walter cut him off. "Stay for dinner. Have a drink with me. I see you brought a bottle." Sharon shot her husband a look. "Walter, are you really going to drink the whiskey Leo bought? You know it's not easy for him to earn money. He's young and doesn't know better, but you're his uncle. You should know better. Leo came to see us because he thinks of us as his aunt and uncle. Why are you being so formal with your own nephew? If you feel bad, just buy something for Leo next time you're shopping for Justin. Family is about giving and taking, isn't it?" "Well, all right. You two talk. I'll go heat up the food and maybe whip up something else," Sharon said, heading to the kitchen. Leo looked at Walter gratefully, deeply touched. It figured that Walter, being a lawyer, always knew exactly what people needed to hear. But Leo wasn't so moved that he lost his senses. He could tell Walter had something he wanted to talk about. Otherwise, he wouldn't have insisted on him staying for a drink at almost 9 o'clock at night. Leo cleared his throat and asked tentatively, "Walter, you want to have a drink with me? There's something you want to tell me, isn't there?" "Yes," Walter admitted. Leo took a deep breath. "Is something wrong with Justin?" "No, Justin's not here because he's at his cousin's house." Leo frowned. "Then what did you want to talk to me about?" "It's about Isabelle." Leo was stunned. He never would have imagined that Walter wanted to talk to him about Isabelle. At the same time, he remembered what Walter had told him downstairs that one time. Back then, Leo had suspected that Isabelle's father's company might be in trouble, and that Walter knew something about it. Now that Walter was bringing her up again, a sense of dread dropped into the pit of his stomach. Seeing Leo's expression turn serious, Walter smiled faintly and clapped him on the shoulder. "Don't be nervous. Sit down. We'll talk while we eat." As eager as Leo was to hear what Walter had to say, he managed a polite nod and said, "Okay." After they sat down, Walter didn't immediately bring up Isabelle. Instead, he asked about Starfall's recent progress. Leo didn't hide anything, outlining their latest successes and giving a rough sketch of their future plans. When he finished, Walter looked at him with a mix of pride and admiration. "Leo, compared to our Justin, you're on a completely different level. I'm not exaggerating when I say that while I may not be a nationally renowned lawyer, I have a solid reputation here in Crestview. My win rate is among the best. And your Aunt Sharon was a university professor before she retired. Logically, our son should have a higher IQ and EQ than most. But no matter how we raised him, Justin has always been average. Not worse than other kids, but certainly not exceptional IQ." Walter sighed heavily. "Sharon and I have come to accept it. Everyone has their own path. Perhaps Justin was destined for an ordinary life. We can't ask for more than that." Leo was silent for a moment. "Walter, I think the reason you and Sharon feel Justin isn't outstanding enough is because you're comparing him to too many exceptional peers. If you stopped making those horizontal comparisons, you might find that Justin is already doing better than a lot of people. Let me just give you one example. You and Sharon earn enough to be considered an upper-middle-class family. The allowance you give Justin is definitely more than what a working-class family could provide. But even so, he still chose to get a part-time job. It's clear he wants to be independent, to prove to you that he can make it on his own. If you put another kid in his shoes, one from a comfortable background, they would never choose to get a job, and they certainly wouldn't pick the most grueling one at a shipping depot." Walter froze, falling into a thoughtful silence. It wasn't until Sharon brought out the heated-up dishes that he seemed to snap out of it. He looked at Leo, his gaze deep and meaningful. "Leo, your success is no accident. Your mind isn't just mature for your age. You see things more clearly than most people in this world." "You're exaggerating, Walter." Walter didn't press the point. He gestured for Leo to open the bottle of whiskey. Leo poured them each a glass, and they clinked them together. After taking a sip, Walter finally began. "Leo, you must be curious why I keep bringing up your girlfriend when I've only met her once, right?" "A little," Leo admitted. "It's about her father's company. As a lawyer, it's normal to be involved in collaborations or legal disputes with major corporations. As one of the lawyers involved in some of Thornon Industries' cases, I shouldn't be disclosing insider information to anyone. But you and Isabelle are in a relationship, and your situations are both unique. After thinking it over, I decided I had to tell you some things. Otherwise, for you to call me uncle, and for me to know the truth and not tell you, that would be both cruel and heartless." Leo's heart began to pound. At this point, he was almost certain Isabelle's father's company was in serious trouble. He said nothing, just downed the contents of his glass in one gulp. The fiery liquid exploded in his mouth. Walter continued, "You told me before that you were aware several of Thornton Industries' projects ran into trouble before the end of the year, leading to a freeze on most of the company's assets. Anyone who follows the industry news knows that much. It's not a secret, but what the public sees and what you see is only the surface. In reality, the failure of these projects has not only frozen their assets, but has also led to a slew of lawsuits. If they lose these cases, Thornton Industries will face massive damages and fines. The amount is large enough to be a fatal blow to the company." He paused and looked Leo directly in the eye. "Furthermore, from what I know, your girlfriend's father, Richard Thornton himself, is personally implicated in several of these lawsuits. If they aren't handled properly, he personally will face enormous financial penalties. Leo, the reason I'm telling you this is to warn you. If, someday soon, Isabelle's family faces a catastrophe, do not be a fool and try to use Starfall to help her. Do not get involved in this mess. It is far deeper and more dangerous than any outsider can see. The best you can do is ensure that Isabelle's life going forward is not too severely impacted." A tremor ran through Leo. His mind felt hollowed out by fear. Even though Walter was speaking of a hypothetical future, a single, overwhelming thought consumed him. He had to call Isabelle. Right now, without a word to Walter, Leo pulled out his phone and dialed her number. The automated message that played sent a chill down his spine. "The number you have dialed is currently unavailable. Please try again later." "The number you have dialed is currently unavailable. Please try again later. Leo called Isabelle 3 times, and each time he was met with the same cold, automated voice. He stood there, frozen, phone in hand. Could it be a coincidence? Walter had just told him about her father's company, and at that exact moment, her phone was off? It didn't make sense. For the past few days, whenever he messaged her, she replied almost instantly. But now, of all times, her phone was off. A sense of dread, cold and sharp, crept into his heart. He realized that his sudden, overwhelming urge to call her might have been an intuition that something was wrong on her end. With that thought, he shot up from his chair. Walter frowned. "What is it, Leo?" "I called Isabelle," Leo said, his voice low and tight. "Her phone is off." Walter, a lawyer skilled in reading people and connecting dots, didn't offer a simple platitude like, "Maybe her battery just died." He saw the tension in Leo's posture and understood. "You think because I just told you this, and you called her, and her phone just happens to be off at this precise moment, that something has happened to Thornon Industries?" "Yes. It's hard not to think that. And she almost never turns her phone off." "Calm down, Leo," Walter said, his voice steady. "Thornon Industries and Richard Thornton are indeed in trouble. But you should remember, when I handled your case against your aunt, it took a long time to prepare. These kinds of corporate lawsuits take even longer. The first of Thornton Industries cases won't even go to court for at least another month. They're still in the discovery phase. I can assure you, whatever is going on with Isabelle's phone, it's not because of that. Don't worry too much. What if she's just out and her battery died?" Walter's logic helped to ground Leo slightly. It was true. The lawsuits wouldn't start so suddenly. So there was a high probability that her phone being off had nothing to do with the company. But then why was it off? His anxiety didn't subside. He looked at Walter apologetically. "I understand, Walter, but I still need to find out for sure why her phone is off. Please tell Sharon I'm sorry about dinner, and that I'm grateful she cooked so much. Isabelle and I will treat you, Sharon, and Justin to dinner next time." Walter didn't try to stop him. "How are you going to find out? I'm going to New York." After leaving Walter's house, Leo immediately started looking up travel options to New York. The last flight of the day was at 9:10 p.m. There were only a few minutes until takeoff. There was no way he could make it. As for the train, the earliest Amtrak wouldn't leave until morning. That left him with 2 options, a 15-hour bus ride or a 16-hour drive. In the end, Leo hailed a cab and headed for the bus station. He couldn't drive. He'd had a drink. Otherwise, he would have preferred to drive through the night, even if it meant no sleep. For someone so desperate to see Isabelle, he needed to feel like he was in control of his own speed. He rushed into the station and bought a ticket to New York. With 10 minutes until boarding, he sat in the waiting area, his eyes glued to his phone, hoping, praying for a call or a message from Isabelle. But the screen remained dark and silent. Clang, clang. It wasn't until he was on the bus and felt the slow rumble of it pulling away from the station that it hit him. He was finally getting closer to her. He stared out the window as the bus sped through the night, the city lights blurring into streaks. The more he thought, the more he worried. He had no idea what could have happened to her. He had completely forgotten about the important business negotiation he was supposed to lead tomorrow afternoon. All he could think about was her. 2 hours later, the bus made a stop. Taking advantage of the brief pause and better cell service, he called her again. The same cold, automated voice answered. Just as he was about to put his phone away, dejected, a thought struck him. Why hadn't he thought to call Landon Archer or Lester? They were both in New York. "TSK, I was in such a panic I couldn't even think straight," he muttered. Before the bus started moving again, he quickly dialed Landon's number. To his surprise, the call went through, but no one answered. He tried several more times, with the same result. While it was strange that Landon wasn't picking up, Leo didn't have time to dwell on it. He gave up and called Lester. With a knot of anxiety in his stomach, he dialed, "Hello, Mr. Yeager." "Thank God." Lester picked up. Hearing the shock in the driver's voice, Leo asked frantically, "Lester, did something happen to Isabelle? Her phone has been off for hours." A silence stretched on the other end of the line. When he didn't get an immediate answer, Leo pressed, "Lester, can you hear me?" "I can hear you, Mr. Yeager." "Then why aren't you saying anything? What happened to her?" Lester sighed. Leo heard a rustling sound, and then Lester's voice dropped to a whisper. "This evening, Miss Thornton received a phone call. Afterward, she smashed her phone. She's locked herself in her room. She won't eat or drink anything. She won't respond to me at all." She smashed her phone?" Hearing Lester's words, Leo's mind went blank for a second. In his memory, Isabelle was someone who remained calm in almost any situation. Even when she was sad or happy, she never lost her composure. The only time he'd ever seen her truly lose it was in the Ozarks, when he was trapped under the rock slide, and she thought she was facing a life-or-death situation. But this time, Lester said it was after a phone call. This was clearly an act of anger. What could make her angry enough to smash her phone? He wondered, before snapping back to the present. Lester, whose call did she take? It must have been her father's, because the second Mrs. Thornton's child was born this evening. The moment Leo heard those words, the second Mrs. Thornton's child was born, everything clicked into place. Isabelle and her stepmother had never gotten along. She despised the woman. Sharon Thornton had cast a dark shadow over Isabelle's childhood, and after she married Richard Thornton, his focus had shifted away from his daughter, his attention slowly fading to the neglect and indifference she faced today. So, for Isabelle, who was already so starved for security, the news of a new half-sibling was the final straw. It was the one blow that could shatter her composure and send her spiraling into a rage. Understanding this, Leo could see why she would smash her phone. "Lester, can you find a way for me to talk to her?" he asked, his voice urgent. "I'm worried about her being locked in her room alone." "I've tried, Mr. Yeager. Miss Thornton has locked herself in and won't see anyone. She doesn't even answer when I knock. The dinner tray is still sitting outside her door, untouched." Lester's voice was filled with helpless concern. Leo gripped his phone tightly. He knew what Isabelle needed most right now was comfort and companionship, but all he could do was sit on this slow-moving bus. He wished he could teleport directly to New York. He sighed heavily. "Lester, did her father come home? Does he know she's locked herself away?" There was a pause before Lester replied, his voice low. "Her father knows. That's why he allowed her to send all the household staff and the butler away. It's just me and Miss Thornton in the mansion now." Hearing that Richard Thornton knew what was happening but hadn't even bothered to call, Leo could only imagine the crushing disappointment Isabelle must be feeling, locked alone in her room. She was the daughter of his first wife. By all rights, she should have been the child he cherished most. But his actions proved otherwise. He loved his newborn child more. And with that, Richard Thornton had shattered the last vestiges of hope his daughter had held for him. She might have once thought that her father, who was so indifferent to her, would be just as indifferent to his new child. But now, he had thrown the truth in her face. It wasn't that he was incapable of caring for his children. He just didn't care about her. Leo felt his heart clench. He squeezed his fists, fighting to keep his voice even. "Lester, I couldn't get a flight or a train, so I'm on a bus to New York. I'll be there by noon tomorrow at the earliest. In the meantime, please stay outside her door. If you hear anything at all, call me immediately. Mr. Yeager." Lester's voice choked up for a moment, then returned with a resolve Leo had never heard before. "Don't you worry, Mr. Yeager. It doesn't matter if her father doesn't love her anymore. I, Lester, will always be by her side. He's long forgotten the promise he made to her mother. He will regret this one day. I swear he will regret this." Leo was taken aback. In the 6 months he'd known him, Lester had always been a consummate professional, diligent, and respectful of his place. To hear him speak so disrespectfully of Isabelle's father was shocking. In that raw emotion, Leo felt the depth of Lester's affection for Isabelle. It was the love of family. No, it was purer than that. Perhaps heaven was fair after all. Like him, Isabelle had grown up without a complete family. But they both had people in their lives who loved them with a devotion that transcended blood. Shaken, Leo simply said, "Okay," and ended the call. He stared out the bus window into the blackness, his heart heavy. The bus rumbled on, each passing second a test of his patience. He, who was normally so patient, couldn't sit still, the noisy, cramped environment of the bus only fueling his agitation. Just then his phone rang. It was Landon Archer. Leo had a feeling he knew why he was calling, so he answered without speaking. Landon was also silent for a few seconds before he said, "Leo, I assume you know that Isabelle's stepmother, Sharon, had her baby." "Yeah, you didn't answer earlier, so I called Lester. He told me." "Sorry, Leo. I was at the hospital visiting Sharon. My phone was on silent." Leo sighed softly. "It's fine. I know you have a complicated history with her stepmother. It makes sense that you would be there. I just left the hospital. I was about to go check on Isabelle. I know her father won't be going home tonight. She probably won't see you. She won't even see Lester right now." "I know," Landon said, "but I have to try. At the very least, she should know that even if her father doesn't care about her, there are other people who do." "I know," Leo replied. "I'm on my way to New York too." Landon sounded surprised, then a small laugh escaped him. "In that case, I won't go. I think you're the only person she wants to see right now. Leo, I'm glad she has you, so she won't be so alone at a time like this. That's because she never lets me be alone, either." The next day, at noon, the bus finally rattled to a stop at the station in New York City. Having barely slept a wink, Leo rushed out of the station, hailed a taxi, and gave the driver the address of the Thornton estate. An hour later, Leo was pulling into the gated community where the Thornton's New York estate was located. Following his memory, he quickly found Isabelle's villa. Before he could even press the visitor's bell, the front door opened and Lester hurried out. Seeing Leo's obviously drained expression, Lester's voice was tinged with concern. "Mr. Yeager, you must be exhausted from the journey." "I'm fine. Has Isabelle come out at all since last night?" Lester sighed and shook his head. "No, she hasn't eaten since yesterday evening, and she won't respond to anything I say through the door. If you hadn't said you were coming, I was planning to call someone to force the door open this afternoon. She can't keep going without food. Let me try knocking." "Of course." Lester led Leo into the villa. It was Leo's second time here, but the last time he had scaled the wall and slipped directly into Isabelle's bedroom. He'd never actually seen the main entrance or the living room. Now, stepping into the grand space, he was momentarily dazzled by a level of opulence that surpassed even the Thornton estate back in Crestview. But he was in no mood to admire the lavish decor. As he followed Lester up to the second floor, he noticed that the entire villa was empty, just as Lester had described over the phone. Before he arrived, it had been just the two of them, Lester and Isabelle. She had dismissed the entire staff, from the maids to the butler. When they reached her bedroom door, Lester raised his hand and knocked gently. His voice was calm and caring. "Miss Isabelle, please come out and have something to eat. Mr. Yeager is here." The house remained silent. Not a sound came from within the room. Just as Lester was about to knock again, Leo stopped him. He leaned closer to the door and spoke softly. "Isabelle, it's me. Leo." Lester's not lying. At the sound of his voice, a faint shuffling came from inside. Lester let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding, then quietly retreated down the hall. A moment later, the lock clicked. The door opened, and there she was, the girl he hadn't seen in what felt like an eternity. A sliver of dim, yellow light spilled from the room, illuminating her bare feet on the plush wool carpet, her thin nightgown rumpled and creased. She looked like a rose beaten down by a storm. Her eyes were red and swollen, her face pale and drawn. Tiny, crystalline tears clung to her eyelashes. It wasn't hard for Leo to guess she hadn't slept at all. The exhaustion, the lack of food and water, even a guy in peak physical condition like him would struggle with that. The moment she saw him, standing right there in her doorway when he should have been in Crestview, a fresh wave of tears rolled down her cheeks. Leo's throat tightened, his heart twisting into a painful knot. He had never seen her like this. Isabelle was always composed, always in control. Even in moments of extreme fear, her emotions rarely betrayed her beyond a flicker in her eyes. But now, she was the raw, exposed embodiment of insecurity and collapse. He could see her fingertips trembling as she cried. He took a step forward and wrapped his arms around her. Before he could say a word, she spoke first, her voice a choked sob against his chest. "I'm sorry, Leo. I smashed my phone. You couldn't reach me. Don't apologize. You did nothing wrong," he murmured, gently patting her back, trying to soothe her like a wounded fawn. Isabelle clutched at the fabric of his shirt as if it were her only lifeline. Her soft sobs were painfully clear in the quiet room, a dam of grief and sorrow finally breaking. Yet, true to her nature, she didn't elaborate. She just cried. She wasn't like other girls who, upon finding a shoulder to cry on, would pour out every last detail of their pain. Her personality made it nearly impossible for her to verbalize her deepest feelings of collapse and hurt. Leo knew this. He lifted her into his arms, carried her into the bedroom, and gently set her down on the bed. He sat beside her, never letting go of her hand. "You must be hungry," he whispered, his voice thick with concern. "You haven't eaten since yesterday afternoon, and you haven't slept. You can't keep this up. Your body won't take it." Isabelle shook her head, tears still streaming down her face. She looked up at him, her eyes a mixture of guilt, sorrow, and the profound helplessness of being abandoned. Finally, she found her voice. "Leo, I always thought. After Mom died, I thought Dad's personality changed because of that. That's why he started caring less and less about me. So I tried to understand him. I told myself he just liked his work more than he liked being a father." But she couldn't finish, her voice breaking again. The tears she'd been holding back spilled over. Her tone was hollow with despair. "But after my brother was born, I finally understood. It wasn't that he ever stopped liking kids. He just stopped liking me." Leo squeezed her hand, his grip firm and reassuring. "I know," he said softly. "It's over now. Don't think about it. He reached out and gently wiped the tears from her cheeks. He didn't try to make her understand Richard Thornton's side, because from where Leo was standing, there was no other side. Richard was wrong. Even if he was her father, Leo had no desire to force a reconciliation. In fact, her cool demeanor, her deep-seated inability to feel secure, that was all on him. Her father had created this. Just then, Lester knocked softly and entered with a bowl of steaming soup. "Miss Isabelle, Mr. Yeager, I just made some soup. Please have some." He paused, then added pointedly, "Mr. Yeager, you must not have had time to eat, rushing here overnight. If the soup isn't enough, I can make something else. There are no maids here at the moment, so it'll have to be me." Leo understood his cue. He nodded, then turned to Isabelle. "Have some with me. I left late last night and couldn't get a plane or an Amtrak ticket, so I had to take a long-haul bus. I'm actually starving." Hearing this, a look of guilt finally washed over Isabelle's face. She stopped resisting the idea of food and even told Lester to make more. "Of course, miss. I'll go right now." After they ate, some color finally returned to Isabelle's cheeks. But after a sleepless night of crying, she was still clearly exhausted. They sat together on her bed. "You really took a bus all the way here last night?" she asked. Leo didn't deny it. "Yeah, I finished up at the office, grabbed some gifts, and went to Mr. Wallace's place. Last time he visited your family, he invited us over for dinner, but we never got the chance before you left for New York. After you left, I kind of forgot about it with everything going on. Last night, while I was having a drink with him, I tried calling you and your phone was off. So, just because my phone was off, you immediately bought a ticket to New York to find me? What if my battery had just died?" Leo was stunned. Even now, in this state, her mind was as sharp as ever. She had picked out the key detail from his brief explanation. Normally, if he'd called her and her phone was off, he wouldn't have been so alarmed. He probably would have waited a few hours and tried again before worrying. But this time was different. It was because Walter Wallace had just been telling him about the trouble at Thornon Industries and about her father. That was what had sent a jolt of panic through him. He masked his reaction, unsure if Isabelle herself knew about her father's company and the impending legal battles. "Of course it wasn't just because your phone was off," he said. "It was more of a gut feeling. I suddenly got this really bad feeling, like something was wrong. And when I couldn't get through, I panicked and didn't think twice. I just bought the ticket. It was only on the way here that I calmed down enough to think of calling Lester to see what was going on." He paused, forcing a casual tone as he used the news of her new stepbrother to probe gently. "So, you told me once that if your dad's company ever ran into trouble, he might finally have time for you. Do you still feel that way?" Isabelle shook her head. "No, he just spent his time with my newborn brother." She hesitated, a wave of melancholy washing over her face. "But my dad is such a proud man. He could never handle a blow like that. Even if he doesn't care about me, he's still my father. I would never want to see him suffer like that. It would destroy him." Leo was surprised. He'd expected her to harbor some resentment, some anger toward her father after this. But she didn't. She had simply given up all hope that he would ever care for her. Putting himself in her shoes, Leo understood. Richard Thornton wasn't some monster. His greatest sin was withholding the love a daughter deserves, then forcing her to witness him giving that love to someone else. He deserved to be punished, sure, but not by losing his life's work. That wouldn't just be a punishment for him. It would be a source of pain for Isabelle, too. Besides, Leo remembered hiding in her closet that day, hearing Richard Thornton state unequivocally that he had no intention of ever handing Thornton Industries over to Sharon's child. Deep down, he did love his daughter. The love was real, but so was the neglect. That was the impossible contradiction between them. As Leo mulled this over, Isabelle, nestled against him, gradually grew still. Her breathing became even and steady. He glanced down and saw that she had fallen asleep. He gently stroked her hair, feeling the soft rise and fall of her chest. He knew that after a long, sleepless night, his presence had finally made her feel safe enough to let go. "I'll always be here for you," he whispered, looking at her peaceful face. Outside, the winter sun cast golden stripes of light on the floor through the gaps in the curtains. The room was perfectly still. Watching her sleep, a wave of his own exhaustion washed over him. His eyelids grew heavy. Surrounded by warmth and quiet, Leo finally gave in and drifted off to sleep beside her. BZT. The vibration of his phone startled Leo awake. Realizing Isabelle was still sleeping soundly beside him, he quickly grabbed the phone and tiptoed out of the room. It was Preston Bailey, the manager from Starfall Studios. "Leo, that business meeting scheduled for 5:30 p.m. today, the other company just called. They want to push it back by half an hour. What do you want to do?" Leo rubbed his temples, shaking off the fog of sleep. He pursed his lips, about to say that he was dealing with something and they should just reschedule the whole thing. But before the words left his mouth, he felt a pair of arms wrap around his waist from behind. He turned to see Isabelle, awake and standing right there. She didn't speak, but mouthed the words silently. Go back. I'm okay. Leo started to object, but she pouted, her expression turning stormy. Seeing that, he relented. No problem, he said into the phone. Half an hour later is fine. After he hung up, Isabelle offered a small smile. It's not even 2:30. You can still make the 4 o'clock flight. I'll have Lester drive you to the airport. But what about you? I'm fine, really. And I'll be back in Crest for you in a couple of days anyway. You can hang out with me then. With that, she called for Lester, telling him to get the car ready and book Leo a plane ticket. Seeing her determination, Leo didn't argue. Okay, but you should go back to sleep. You only got a couple of hours. I'll walk you out first. I'll sleep after you leave. She pulled on a jacket and took his hand, leading him out of the room. When Lester pulled the car around from the garage, Leo hesitated before getting in. Are you sure you're okay? He asked, his voice laced with worry. The work can wait. I could stay a few more days. Isabelle didn't answer. Instead, she pulled a tube of lipstick from her pocket and smeared some onto the palm of her hand. Then, she looked at him with a mischievous glint in her eyes. Give me your hand. Okay. Baffled, Leo held out his hand. She took it, interlacing her fingers with his, pressing their palms together firmly before letting go. When Leo pulled his hand back, a faint red heart was imprinted on his palm. She smiled sweetly. I'm giving you half my heart. Now you'll know, every second of every day, whether I'm still sad or not. She took out her phone and snapped a picture of their two hands, each marked with a heart, a look of pure delight on her face. There, she said softly. Now go on, get in the car. Leo was on the flight back to Crestview, right on schedule. He stared out the window at the runway, lost in thought. As the plane began to accelerate, he snapped back to reality, his gaze falling to the half a heart Isabelle had given him. A smile touched his lips. A deeply sentimental thought surfaced. Someday, in the not-too-distant future, he would give her a rose garden. He mused on how the Isabelle he first met at the Maplewood would have reacted. She would have given a cool, detached nod while internally screaming with joy, never letting a trace of her true feelings show. The Isabelle of today was a completely different person. He felt that if he told her now about his rose garden idea, she would smile and say, then I want to build a little lake in it, so we could take walks by the water and look at the roses after dinner. The idea sparked an impulse. He immediately pulled out his phone to text her. He wanted to test his theory, to see if he could still perfectly guess her thoughts without his special ability. Leo, plane's taking off. She must have been waiting for his message because a reply came back almost instantly. Isabelle, okay. I'll listen to you and go to sleep now. Leo, wait, give me 3 minutes. Leo, when we get married, I want to give you a huge rose garden. He sent the message and stared at the screen, his breath catching in his throat. He was sure of it. He knew exactly what she was going to say. A moment later, a new message popped up. Isabelle, okay. And to make it even prettier, let's build a little lake so we can go for walks together all the time. I knew it. A thrill shot through him. Her reply was almost identical to what he'd imagined. Before he could respond, another message came through. Isabelle, but I don't want you to put too much pressure on yourself for something like that. So if you don't end up giving me a rose garden, it's okay. I can grow roses on our balcony. All that matters is that they're from you. Back in Crestview, Leo had Preston Bailey pick him up from the airport and drive him straight to the location for his evening business meeting. With Isabelle safe and sound, his mind was clear, and he threw himself into his work with total focus. The meeting was a success. The transition of Starfall into a full-fledged MCN was essentially a done deal. The investments were rolling in, and only a few formalities remained. In the final days before the new semester at CPI, Leo was buried in work, often staying at the office until 1 or 2 in the morning. Starfall Studios officially became Starfall Media. At the direction of Leo, Sean Shao, and the other partners and investors, they rented out a second floor of the office building to accommodate their rapid expansion. The viral video from the Little Fish account over the holidays had made them a local sensation in Crestview. Fans of that channel, along with followers of their other accounts, showed up to congratulate them on the official launch. While it wasn't a massive crowd, it was enough to attract some local news reporters. As the principal shareholders, Leo and Sean couldn't avoid speaking on camera. Though Leo wasn't comfortable in the spotlight, the thought that the distance between him and Isabelle was shrinking by the day filled him with a sense of boundless courage. The people around her now were far less likely to see the chasm between their social statuses. 5 days flew by. On the first day of a new semester, Leo wrapped up his work at Starfall, grabbed lunch, and was about to drive to the airport to pick up Isabelle. As he left the building, he heard someone call his name. Leo. Leo. Huh. He turned to see Julian Croft hurrying after him. What's up, Julian? Where are you going? The company is swamped right now. You're the biggest boss at Starfall. How do you have time to be slacking off? Julian demanded, his tone accusatory. Leo gave him a strange look. If I remember correctly, you're the employee, and I'm the boss. What kind of employee questions the boss? Julian pushed up his glasses, his voice self-righteous. So what? My classes start tomorrow, and I'm still here at the office. I haven't even applied for remote work. TSK, and that's my fault how? Besides, my classes start today. I'm on my way to campus to register. I happen to know that registration at CPI is open until 6. Why are you in such a rush? Leo rolled his eyes. It's the first day of school, which means Isabelle is flying back from New York. I'm going to the airport to pick her up. Is there a problem with me picking up my girlfriend before the semester starts? Julian froze, his face turning a shade of crimson, so deep it was almost purple. This wasn't a blush of shyness. He was seeing red. He sputtered for a moment before finally pointing a trembling finger at Leo. You, don't get arrogant. Just because you turned Starfall into an MCN doesn't mean you're worthy of Isabelle. I'm telling you, I'm the one who's. Leo cut him off, his patience gone. Yeah, I know. You're her true soulmate. Good luck with that. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go. You need to work hard and make me some money. Otherwise, who's going to pay for the gas I used to go see Isabelle? Oh, by the way, she just texted me to hurry up. She said she misses me. She misses me. The words struck Julian like a bolt of lightning. He stood there, petrified, watching Leo get in his car and speed away. For a long moment, he was a statue on the sidewalk. Then, a horrifying realization dawned on him. So, he muttered to the empty air, I worked my ass off all winter break just to pay for Leo's dates with Isabelle. Julian's nose began to itch, as if something red were about to burst out. What do you want to eat tonight? Leo asked, smiling at Isabelle in the passenger seat as he drove. Isabelle, however, was just staring at him with wide, shimmering eyes. If she wasn't worried about distracting him from driving, it looked like she wanted to launch herself at him. Leo cleared his throat. Ahem, don't look at me like that. Isabelle narrowed her eyes, her tone taking on a cool edge. But last night, you texted me that you were going to be really mean to me when you saw me. Leo's face flushed. She had him there. The truth was, he didn't want to be mean to her. But anyone who's been in a long-distance relationship knows that after a long time apart, the first reunion can feel a little awkward, a little reserved. Even though he'd just seen her in New York 5 days ago, that was under special circumstances, a decidedly unofficial meeting. So, seeing her now, he felt a bit shy. But then an idea struck him. He shot a smug look at the suddenly arrogant Isabelle. And didn't you say you wanted to have a good, long chat about her lip service? Her composed expression faltered, a flicker of shyness in her eyes, but she held her ground. I didn't say that. I was in the shower. I left my phone on the bed, and Buttercream must have pawed at it and sent some gibberish. So you're telling me, Leo said, a grin spreading across his face, that you left your phone on the bed and Buttercream, a 3-year-old Sammyed, not only correctly entered your lock screen password with her paw, but also managed to find our chat. Type out, let's talk about lip service when we see each other tomorrow, using the phonetic keyboard, and send it to me? Is that what you're saying? Isabelle nodded instinctively. Leo's grin widened. He turned to her, his expression a perfect mix of amusement and disbelief. Does Buttercream know she's that talented? You're a terrible person, Leo Yeager. Leo had planned to take her to dinner before heading back to campus to register, but Isabelle explained that Haley had already announced in their group chat that the 4 of them, Haley, Jesse, and Zoe, had to have a reunion dinner tonight since they hadn't seen each other all winter. So, Leo had to drop her off at the girls' dorm, abandoning his dinner plans. As she got out of the car, Isabelle could see the disappointment on his face. She squinted her eyes, then stood on her tiptoes, leaning close to his ear to whisper, dinner with Haley and the others won't go too late. And it's been a long time since you took me for a walk on the track. I kind of want to go for a walk. Leo's eyes lit up. He wasn't an idiot. He knew exactly what she meant. Who in their right mind goes for a walk on a freezing cold night like this? You don't go to the track to walk. You go to the track for the moral dead zone right next to it. Leo cleared his throat, feigning composure. Please, calm yourself. A place like the Grove. I would never. Isabelle stared into his eyes without speaking. After a long moment, she reached out, and gently tugged on the corner of his shirt. Her moist eyes blinked slowly as she pouted. You really don't want to take me to the Grove? I'll go. We have to go. After dropping Isabelle off, Leo parked his car and went to find his freshman advisor, Mr. Campbell, to register for the semester. Since most students had registered that morning, Leo was the last one in his class to sign in. Just as he was about to leave, Mr. Campbell called him back. Leo, wait a minute. What is it, sir? Did I miss a signature or something? Mr. Campbell shook his head, smiling. I heard your studio officially rebranded as Starfall Media a couple of days ago. It's a proper company now. Leo was slightly taken aback. How did you know that, sir? Mr. Campbell waved him off. You've been busy, kid. Here's the thing. Your company's account, Little Fish, had that video that went viral over the break. Our college dean, Dean Wong, saw it. He remembered you from your speech at the New Year's Gala and was already impressed with Starfall. When he saw how successful your company's channel had become, he immediately called some of the department heads. A little while later, the head of student affairs called me to get more details on you. Let's just say you're a big deal in our department now. He clapped Leo on the shoulder, his voice filled with pride. By tomorrow or the day after, Dean Wong will probably call you in for a chat. He might even arrange for the journalism students to do a campus feature on you. It's not every year we get a student who builds a company of this scale while still in school. If you can take this to the next level, it's good for the dean, and it's even better for CPI. That's better publicity than any recruitment brochure, right? Mr. Campbell waved him off. Anyway, that's all I wanted to tell you. Go prepare yourself. Okay. Still processing. Leo gave a dazed nod and turned to leave. It wasn't until he reached the entrance of the dining hall that it all sank in. He had a strange feeling he couldn't quite place. Was he about to become a campus celebrity? A small smile played on his lips. Since Isabelle was out with her friends, he figured he'd just grab a quick bite at the dining hall. As he stood in line, his eyes drifted to the large LCD TV mounted on the wall, which was playing the local Crest news on a loop. He watched for a few seconds, and then his breath caught in his throat. Without a second thought, he abandoned the line and bolted toward the boys' dorms. Crack! Leo threw open the door to room 415, immediately hit by a wall of smoke. Felix and Ned were standing by the door vaping. Seeing Leo, Felix grinned. Yo, Leo, you're back. Yeah. Leo nodded, then glanced at Rex, who was hunched over his desk, engrossed in something. What's Rex up to? How come he's not vaping with you guys? Felix rubbed his nose, looking a bit awkward. Studying? Leo's eyebrows shot up, his voice rising in disbelief. Rex is studying? I don't think I've ever heard those two words in the same sentence. He looked around the room. I thought this was the first day of college, not the first day of high school. Finally, Rex, who had been buried in a textbook, heard the commotion. He stood up, his face dark. Damn it, you three are assholes. Last semester you all swore you weren't going to study, that we'd all fail together. In the end, I was the only one who failed 2 classes. Especially you, Leo. How the hell did you get the second highest grade in calculus? You backstabbing dog, how much studying did you do behind my back? Seeing Rex's look of utter despair, Leo felt a pang of guilt. He cleared his throat. I really didn't study. Don't you remember? The day after the exam, Haley told you right to your face that she's good friends with Professor Yuan, our calculus teacher. She got the inside scoop on the exam questions and highlighted the important stuff for me. That's the only reason I did so well. Rex paused, the memory slowly returning. His expression softened, but then another thought struck him, and he turned on Leo again. Wait a minute. From what I hear, your other grades weren't bad either. Don't tell me Haley is best friends with every professor. Leo, you better come clean. Did you or did you not secretly study last semester? Rex, I swear I didn't study. Leo denied, not a hint of guilt in his voice. Then swear on it. If you're lying, you and Isabelle will break up tomorrow. Leo's expression instantly changed. He gave an awkward grin, his voice suddenly lacking its earlier confidence. Ahem. Well, actually, during finals week last semester, I might have gone to the library with Isabelle a few times. I knew it. You son of a bitch. I knew you were studying behind my back. Rex exploded, looking ready to strangle Leo. Felix and Ned had to physically hold him back. Rex shot Leo a venomous glare, took a vape from Felix, and after a long drag, spoke again. Fine. I'm a magnanimous guy. I kind of figured Isabelle would drag you to the library. So, how many times did you go during finals week? Knowing you 2 or 3 times max, right? Given Rex's earlier curse, Leo wasn't about to risk bad juju. He rubbed his nose, his eyes darting around the room, unable to meet Rex's gaze. Yeah, not many times. Just maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Rex looked like he was about to have an aneurysm. His eyes bulged as he roared, "Leo, you dog, I'm going to kill you." This time, Felix and Ned couldn't hold it back. Just as Rex was about to go completely berserk, Leo yelled, Wait. I've seen the error of my ways. Look, I haven't even flexed on you since I got back. And besides, I came back to take you out to dinner. Since you're the only one in our dorm who failed classes, someone's got to cheer you up." "For real?" Rex looked at Leo suspiciously. He was so used to Leo being a troll that he couldn't quite believe the offer was genuine. Leo put on his most sincere face. "For real. If I'm not being 100% serious about this, I hope Isabelle and I break up tomorrow." "Stop. I was just joking before. I don't want you two breaking up on my account. You guys are good." Rex waved his hand dismissively. "Fine, I'll give you a chance to atone. Where are we eating tonight? Just follow me. Felix, Ned, you guys come too." 10 minutes later, Leo stood with his 3 roommates in front of the CPI dining hall. Seeing the dining hall, Rex's face immediately darkened. But remembering Leo's earnest vow, he clung to a final shred of hope. "Leo, when you said you were treating us to dinner, you didn't mean in the dining hall, right?" "Why not?" Leo replied, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "After a whole winter break, I'm sick of restaurant food. Especially over the holidays, it was nothing but rich, heavy meals. I bet it was the same for Felix and Ned, right?" "Yup," the two chimed in unison. "See," Leo continued, "if us common folk were eating rich food all break, then Mr. Moneybags here must have been dining on gourmet delicacies. It's the first day back. What's wrong with enjoying the fragrant aroma of our alma mater's cuisine?" TSK. Rex wanted to curse Leo out for being such a troll. But if he argued, it would sound like his holiday meals were worse than theirs. He had no choice but to force a smile. Fine, you're right. I'm definitely sick of lobster and abalone. A change of pace at the dining hall sounds great." Then, to maximize the damage to Leo's wallet, Rex added, "But just so you know, my appetite has gotten huge lately. I've been eating a lot more. Since we're in the dining hall, you're not going to put a limit on how much I can spend, right?" At this, a knowing smile crept across Leo's face. "Of course not. Order whatever you want. But I'd advise you to be realistic. It's the first week of school, and the clean plate monitor is on patrol. You waste food, and your picture gets blasted on the big screen. The university dining hall usually had monitors, but they rarely patrolled in person. It was only during the first couple of days of the semester that they'd walk around. If they caught a student wasting food, they couldn't issue a formal reprimand, but they would snap a picture of the student and their wasted food and display it on the dining hall TVs for a few days. It wasn't a serious punishment, but having your face looped for the entire school to see was a special kind of social death. Rex scoffed. "Don't you worry about me. I know my limits." "Okay," Leo shrugged, giving Rex the green light to order from any station he wanted, all on Leo's tab. Rex threw his arms around Felix and Ned. "You too. Don't hold back tonight either. Go wild, just like me. We might not bankrupt him in the dining hall, but if the 3 of us try, we can definitely run up a bill of $200 or $300. Felix tried to reason with him. "Let it go, Rex. The monitor is here today. If we get more than we can eat, we're just shooting ourselves in the foot." "Yeah," Ned added. "I don't think you need to be mad at Leo. He hasn't even flexed on you since he got back. He's obviously sorry. So what? He's not flexing because he's got nothing to flex with. Does he really think I'm that easy to troll?" Rex snorted. "Fine, let's get extra. Your loss." A little over 10 minutes later, the 4 of them sat down with their trays. Except Rex had brought back 3 trays, each piled high with a mountain of food. Ned stared dumbfounded. "Rex, even I couldn't eat that much. What are you going to do?" "What's it matter? These 3 trays cost $120. Making Leo bleed a little puts me in a good mood. And when I'm in a good mood, I have a big appetite," Rex said with a triumphant grin, picking up his chopsticks and digging in. Just then, Felix noticed something. He pushed up his glasses and squinted at the TV on the wall behind Rex. "Huh," he said, a strange note in his voice. Then, with an air of disbelief, he added, "Hey, Leo, that guy being interviewed on TV. He looks a lot like you." HM. Hearing this, Rex and Ned both turned to look at the TV. On the screen, the local Crestview news was playing. The segment was about the rebranding of Starfall Studios into Starfall Media 2 days prior. And there, being interviewed by a reporter, was Leo Yeager, the company's largest shareholder. The triumphant smile on Rex's face froze instantly. Clatter! His chopsticks fell to the floor. The rice he hadn't swallowed yet tumbled from his mouth, grain by grain. At that moment, Leo put down his own chopsticks, glanced at the TV with a look of mock surprise, and let out an exaggerated gasp. "Oh my, well look at that. Isn't that me? How'd I end up on TV?" "Man, these reporters," Leo sighed dramatically. I specifically asked her to cut my interview segment. I told her I have a friend with the last name Gao who gets easily triggered. Look what happened. He patted Rex's shoulder. Rex, my man, this is a horror movie. Let's not watch, okay? Rex's eye twitched. He felt like he couldn't breathe. He looked down at the 3 mountains of food before him and instantly lost his appetite. Felix finally caught on, trying to stifle a laugh. No wonder Leo didn't flex on Rex today and even offered to buy dinner. He was saving up a massive one to drop on him in the dining hall. Rex's eye twitched again. A heavy pressure settled in his chest. Ned, ever the innocent, was simply in awe. Leo, he said, his voice filled with shock. Your studio is a big company now. You must have made a lot of money over the break, right? Leo shook his head, his tone breezy. Not much. Just a few million. Rex felt his scalp tingle, a shiver running down his spine. He stared blankly at the TV, at the charismatic, confident version of Leo being interviewed, and felt his soul leave his body. For years, he'd only seen that kind of dazzling, alpha male charisma in his own father. How did Leo suddenly have it too? The sheer magnitude of this flex. It was suffocating. Rex's reaction started to scare Ned. He grabbed Felix's arm nervously. Felix, what's wrong with Rex? I think he stopped breathing. The 4 of them sat in the dining hall for nearly half an hour. Since it was just registration day and not the official start classes, and with couples and friends reuniting after a long break, most students were out at restaurants. The dining hall was practically empty. It was now 8 o'clock, and Rex had only managed to finish 1 tray of food. 2 massive plates, loaded with meat, sat untouched beside him. Watching Rex swallow each bite with what looked like excruciating pain, Felix couldn't help but ask, man, how long is this going to take him? Maybe we should just secretly dump it? We can be lookouts for him, Ned suggested. Leo shook his head. Forget it. There's barely anyone here, and it's past dinner time. Look over there. See how the monitor lady is staring down every single person returning their tray. The 3 of them, including Rex, turned to look. Sure enough, the monitor was watching every student like a hawk. At that sight, the last of Rex's hope died. His face turned ashen. He suddenly remembered the knowing smile on Leo's face when he'd warned him to order responsibly. Damn it, a combo flex. Rex spat, then lowered his head and continued to eat, his expression one of utter defeat. Seeing this, Leo grinned and gestured to Felix and Ned. All right, let's help the man out. Otherwise, his dinner is going to turn into a late-night snack, and his late-night snack is going to turn into breakfast. You can still eat? Rex asked, surprised that Leo would actually offer to help. Leo chuckled. I knew a cheapskate like you wouldn't pass up the one chance to make me spend money, so I made sure to get less food for myself earlier. Hearing this, Rex's mood lifted slightly. He knew Leo was just messing with him and didn't actually want to humiliate him. So, he divided the remaining food among the 3 of them, and they quickly polished it all off. After dinner, to aid their digestion, the 4 decided to head to the pool hall across the street. Leo was genuinely terrible at pool. In high school, his breaks had been filled with part-time jobs and studying, leaving no time for such leisurely pursuits. So, against a guy like Rex, who grew up with a pool table in his basement, he was getting his ass handed to him, with Rex clearing the table multiple times in half an hour. Finally finding something he was better at, Rex was gloating non-stop. TSK, Leo, you suck at this, he crowed. Call me Master Gao, and I'll teach you how to play. I guarantee you'll be a pro in no time. Leo just laughed and pulled Ned over from the other table where he was playing with Felix. Sure, but first, play a couple of games with Ned. If you can beat him, I'll call you Master. Ned? I can beat him with my eyes closed. Rex dismissed Ned completely, waving him over for a match. Leo gave Rex a long, pitying look. In less than 10 minutes, he knew Rex was about to get flexed on again. And sure enough, 10 minutes later, Ned was breaking and running the table every single time, leaving Rex utterly dumbfounded. When Rex finally got a shot after a rare mistake from Ned, he leaned over the table, determined to make a comeback. 5 minutes later, Rex was sweating profusely, rattling off a stream of excuses for his missed shots. The pockets are too tight. The cue's warped. The table's not level. The AC is making it too cold. This cue is garbage. The smoke is getting in my eyes. After pool, the 4 of them headed back to campus. As they approached the main gate, Leo spotted the dazzling headlights of a Maybach S680 from a distance. The memory of Isabelle's parting words from that evening, "You really don't want to take me to the Grove?" sent a jolt of heat through him. He casually turned to the others. Hey, I think I left something at the pool hall. You guys go head back to the dorm. I'll be right there. As soon as Rex and the others were gone, Leo stood by the side of the road and watched the Maybach pull up in front of him. The passenger door opened, and Isabelle stepped out. Her cheeks were flushed. The moment she saw Leo, her beautiful eyes crinkled into a smile, and she ran the last few steps, throwing herself into his arms. As she hugged him, Leo caught the faint scent of alcohol. "You've been drinking?" Isabelle tilted her head up and mumbled a soft hum. Then she whispered, "Haley brought a bottle of red wine from home. I just tried a little bit." After a thought, she added, "It was pretty good. I'll let you have a taste later." Question mark. Leo blinked, looking at her with a puzzled expression. "Let me have a taste later? Did she bring a little flask of wine back with her or something?" Before he could puzzle it out, Haley, Zoe, and Jesse got out of the Maybach. They walked over, and Haley immediately started teasing him. "Leo, you better take your little wifey to sober up. That wine had almost no alcohol content. The three of us were drinking it like juice. Isabelle had one tiny glass, and she's already tipsy. Her tolerance is seriously worrying." Zoe and Jesse nodded in agreement. Leo didn't doubt it for a second. He had witnessed her impressive lack of tolerance firsthand at Kevin's house. He couldn't help but think she was all talk and no game. Knowing she was such a lightweight, why would she drink tonight? They had an 8 a.m. class tomorrow. If she got drunk, she'd miss the first class of the semester. "All right, I'll take her for a walk on the track. The cold air should clear her head." "Okay, but don't kiss her for too long," Haley said with a dead serious expression, "or she'll get drunk from that instead of the wine." Leo's face immediately turned beet red. He cleared his throat, flustered. "What are you talking about? We're just going for a walk. Too long. Kiss her drunk? That's slander against my character." MMPH. Wait, no more kissing for a minute. I can't breathe." In the darkness of the grove, Isabelle pushed Leo away, gasping for air. After a few seconds, she looked at him with a pout. "You said we were just going for a walk," she mumbled. "Liar." Leo pretended not to hear, turning his head away. But his heart was pounding like a drum. The moment he'd brought her here and started their platonic exchange, he'd instantly understood what she meant by "I'll let you have a taste later." This time, she had been uncharacteristically forward, her kiss surprisingly bold. And in that first moment, he had tasted the lingering sweetness of red wine on her tongue. He guessed that after dinner, she had held a small mouthful of wine in her mouth the entire ride back, swallowing it only moments before seeing him, leaving the flavor fresh and potent. This playful, deliberate act of seduction sent a current through his entire body. If they didn't have class tomorrow, he would have shown her exactly what he meant by being mean. Seeing Leo play dumb, Isabelle didn't press the issue. She looked down, zipping up the jacket she'd unzipped during their kiss, then leaned in close again, her warm breath ghosting over his throat. She licked her lips, and, just as she was about to lean in, Leo quickly said, "Hey, don't always go for the neck. Haven't you seen those TikToks? There are tons of blood vessels there. Too much of that, and you could seriously get hurt." Isabelle wrinkled her nose, her tone annoyed. "But every time you're mean to me, you always go for a little bite. Why can't I?" Leo's jaw twitched. He was speechless. "TSK, I really need to break that habit." Isabelle's cool tone softened. She reached out with her slightly cold hand and gently touched his neck, her eyes shimmering. "Just a little one. Classes officially start tomorrow. What does that have to do with anything?" She pursed her lips, her voice dripping with mock jealousy. "Who knows what other girls will be asking for your number? Since you won't let me have Lester secretly investigate and assassinate them." Leo's eyes widened. All she did was have one dinner with Haley and the others, and she came back like this. The next thing he knew, a warm, soft sensation was on his neck, sending a jolt of electricity through him. He instinctively reached for the zipper on her jacket, but she caught his hand, her voice a vulnerable whisper. "Don't. If you do that again, I'll have to wash my pants tonight." After walking Isabelle back to her dorm, Leo clutched his jacket tight and hurried back through the night toward the boys' dorms. He muttered to himself the whole way. "I'm an idiot, such an idiot. She literally told me so clearly, and I didn't get it. How could I be so stupid?" It finally clicked. He now understood why. That one time they'd gone for a walk on the track, she had been so insistent. "Tonight, we're just holding hands and walking. We are not going to the Grove, because I just changed into a new pair of pants." It wasn't about the pants. It was about what would happen to the pants if they went to the Grove. The next morning, the first official day of classes at CPI after winter break, the four residents of room 415 trudged toward their 8 a.m. class, shoulders hunched, hands shoved in their pockets, hair looking like they'd styled it with a blender. The biting February wind made them all shiver. Even though they were used to 8 a.m.s, a whole break was long enough to lose the habit. For a night owl like Rex, who regularly woke up in the afternoon during the break, being forced out into the cold before 8 a.m. was a fate worse than death. The normally impeccably styled Rex hadn't even bothered with his hair. Damn it, he grumbled. I must have been a serial killer in my past life to deserve this 8 a.m. bullshit. He finished his rant with a loud sneeze. Achoo. I should have just let my dad send me to study abroad. I hear they don't even have 8 a.m. classes over there. Thankfully, Leo's busy work schedule at Starfall had already reacclimated him to waking up at 7 or 8. He took a sip of his hot soy milk. If you don't want to go to 8 a.m.s, just go back home and take over the family business. You could be your own boss and only work 8 p.m.s. Yeah, right. At my current level, even if my dad was brave enough to hand the business over, I wouldn't be brave enough to take it. It would probably go bankrupt in a week, Rex said. He then added jokingly, Hey Leo, I remember that news reporter yesterday said Starfall is officially Starfall Media now. You got any positions open for me? I could use some practice on how to manage employees. It was obviously a joke. Even Ned and Felix could tell. But a light bulb went off in Leo's head. He stopped dead in his tracks. Wait a minute, he exclaimed. Rex, we actually have a position that would be perfect for you. And only you could do it. Rex? A wide grin spread across Leo's face. He threw an arm around Rex's shoulders. Come on, let's get to class first. I'll tell you all about it when we get there. This will absolutely give you the work experience you need, and it'll satisfy some of your other needs, too. So, you're saying you want me to be a talent manager for your company? Rex asked, sitting in the classroom and staring at Leo in disbelief. Leo nodded, lowering his voice. Exactly. Starfall just transitioned from a studio to a full-blown media company, so we have a lot of empty positions we're trying to fill. And as the company expands, we won't just be hiring tech and operations people. We'll be rapidly growing our roster of creators. The core of an MCN is signing influencers and content creators. That makes the talent manager role crucial. It's not really something you can hire externally for. Usually, you promote trusted employees from within. But we're not at that stage yet. So, it's up to the partners to recommend suitable candidates. Whoa, hold on. Can you explain what a talent manager even does? I was just kidding around. I don't actually want a job, Rex said, already backpedaling. I mean, I can help out for a bit until you find someone, but I don't have any of the required skills for a tech job. You'd have to give me a role that fits my unique qualifications. Rex was all talk. For all his bravado, when it came to actual work, he immediately lost his nerve. Leo just gave him a knowing pat on the shoulder. Don't worry, Rex. Like I said, this is a job you can definitely do. In fact, you're going to love it. He leaned in closer. A talent manager is exactly what it sounds like. A manager for TikTok creators, influencers, and online personalities. It's like a celebrity agent, but for the internet. The only difference is that our talent managers have to do a bit more like scouting. He paused for effect. Once you're a talent manager, a daily job will be to scroll through TikTok. We'll give you a character brief for a new account we're launching, and you'll be in charge of finding girls on the platform who look the part. You contact them, see if they're interested in signing with Starfall Media. If they are, you'll be responsible for meeting them in person to make sure they're not just a product of beauty filters. As for the post-signing work, I'll have a team to help you with that. Your main job is just finding and signing talent. The team will handle the rest. Rex was silent for a long moment. When he finally processed what Leo had said, he took a sharp breath, his whole body trembling with excitement. He instinctively reached for his vape, then remembered he was in a classroom, not his dorm. He quickly put away. His voice was almost shaking when he spoke. So, to be clear, my job is to scroll TikTok, message pretty girls under the official title of a Starfall Media Talent Manager, and even meet them in person one-on-one. If you want to put it that way, yeah, basically. As soon as Leo confirmed it, Rex's voice boomed. Leo, what do you take me for? Leo was taken aback. This was not the reaction he expected. A job that let Rex openly check out girls and get paid to meet them in person should have been a dream come true. Why was he acting like he was going to refuse? Thinking he might have overdone it with the flex yesterday, Leo started to back down. I take you for a brother. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. It was me. Who said I don't want to do it? Rex cut him off, his face a mask of determination. Of course I want to do it. What I meant was, what kind of person do you take me for, offering me a job this amazing? You're like a father to me. He paused, then corrected himself. No, that's not right. How about this? From now on, we'll have our own terms. You can call me your brother, and I'll call you my godfather. A sly grin spread across his face. So, godfather, when does your humble son start work? Rex's lightning-fast change of heart was so jarring it would have stunned a clam. Felix, who had been listening to their conversation, couldn't help but chime in. Only you, Rex. 1 minute you're cursing Leo out, The next you're calling him godfather, and yourself his humble son. You've really mastered the art of the flip-flop. Rex just snorted, flicking his messy hair. You don't get it. A real man knows when to bend a knee. For the chance to officially message girls and meet them in person, I'd do more than call him godfather. No term of endearment is enough to express my gratitude for Leo. I mean, for my godfather. Leo, Felix, and Ned just looked at him and collectively thought, sure, Jan. And just like that, Rex, who had just last night vowed to be a diligent student this semester, completely forgot his resolution. He was already on his phone, furiously scrolling through TikTok, the old lust in his eyes replaced by the righteous gaze of a talent manager. After their 8 a.m. class, the four of them were dead on their feet, all vowing to go back to the dorm and sleep until the afternoon. But as soon as they got back, Leo's phone rang. It was his advisor, Mr. Campbell. Leo, are you out of class? Yeah, I am. What's up, sir? Your memory isn't what it used to be. Didn't I tell you yesterday that the dean found out about your company being on the local news? He wanted to talk to you today. Well, I just got a call from the head of student affairs. He wants you to report to the dean's office immediately. You're on campus, right? Leo paused, finally remembering the conversation. He just hadn't expected the dean to be so prompt. Everyone knew that when a person in charge didn't give a specific time, it was all up in the air. Plus, with the new semester just starting, a high-level administrator like the dean should have been swamped. There was no way a chat with him would be this high on the priority list. Unless talking to him was more important than everything else. Realizing this, Leo replied, yes, I'm on campus. I'll head over right now. If you didn't have time to get ready this morning, you might want to clean yourself up a bit before you go. From what I hear, the dean might arrange for the journalism department to do a campus feature on you. Got it. Thanks. After hanging up, Leo looked up and was startled to see Felix, Ned, and Rex all staring at him with incredibly complex expressions. Geez, he yelped. Why are you guys staring at me like that? Felix pushed up his glasses, his voice filled with awe. Leo, we heard your conversation. You're being summoned for a private meeting with the dean, and you're getting a solo feature for the whole school to see. Leo blinked, still processing. I guess so. Man, we all live in the same dorm, but you're about to become a campus celebrity while the three of us are just going to be cooped up in here playing video games after class. Felix sighed. Leo, you didn't just flex on Rex this time. You got me too. Me too, Ned added. Surprisingly, Rex was completely unfazed. He glanced at the other two and scoffed. Speak for yourselves. Don't include me in this. I wasn't flexed on at all. Felix rolled his eyes. Give me a break. Just admit it. Nope. Not only was I not flexed on, but I'm actually happy for Leo. Rex straightened up, his expression serious. My godfather and I share a common destiny. The brighter he shines, the more I benefit. As Starfall Media grows, I won't just be messaging small-time influencers. I'll have the chance to connect with major creators, the ones with millions of followers. His glory is my glory, his light is my light. I am willing to share in my godfather's success. Leo's mouth twitched. He couldn't resist pointing it out. Don't people usually say they'll share the good times and the bad? You only want to share the glory, not the hardship, huh? His scheme exposed, Rex just grinned. Now, what can I say? I've had a weak stomach since I was a kid. I can only handle the soft life. Hardship is not on the menu. Heeding Mr. Campbell's advice, Leo washed his hair and even borrowed some gel from Rex to style it before heading to the dean's office. I'm so sleepy. The four girls of room 311 walked out of their dorm, books in hand, heading to class. Even though they were luckier than the students with 8 a.m.s, Haley was still yawning. Zoe looked at her, confused. Haley, didn't we go to bed at 12:30 last night? Why are you still so tired? Haley waved a dismissive hand. Don't even ask. Over the break, I was binging shows until 3 or 4 in the morning and sleeping in until the afternoon. My sleep schedule is completely messed up. Forcing myself to go to bed before 1 last night was torture. I just tossed and turned for hours. So, yeah, waking up at 10 for class is killing me. Zoe sighed. Well, Jesse and I were working part-time over the break, so we were exhausted every night. Our schedules are still pretty normal. She then turned to Isabelle. I guess you must be tired too, Isabelle. With your family, you obviously don't need to work, so your sleep schedule is probably just as bad as Haley's, right? Isabelle, who had been lost in thoughts of Leo, was startled to hear her name. She shook her head quickly. My schedule is very regular. I didn't stay up too late over the break. Then she added silently in her head, except for those 2 nights when Leo was being mean to me. The dining hall was packed with students who had just finished their 8 a.m. classes, so the girls knew they'd never get food in time for their 10:20 lecture. Instead, they stopped by the campus convenience store for some bread and then headed to Chatter Tea, took grab milk teas to sneak into the classroom. Chatter Tea was right near the boys' dorms. As they were leaving, Zoe suddenly grabbed Isabel's arm. Isabel, look, isn't that your boyfriend, Leo? HM. At the mention of his name, Isabel's eyes immediately followed Zoe's finger. Sure enough, there was Leo, hurrying toward one of the administrative buildings. The sight of him made Isabel's usually cool eyes light up, her face eager. If they weren't about to be late for class, she would have run right over and thrown her arms around him. But before she could say anything, Haley spoke up. Hey, Isabel, your man is looking sharp today. It looks like he actually put some effort in. I didn't think he was the type to get all dressed up. Hearing this, Isabel took a closer look. Haley was right. Leo did look different today. He was even more handsome than usual. Her expression brightened even more. That's when Haley started teasing. TSK, Isabel, didn't your boyfriend have an 8 a.m. class? He definitely didn't have time to get ready like this when he woke up, which means he got all cleaned up after class. And if he's not meeting you, who do you think he's meeting? Looks like your man's been naughty. Even though Isabel knew Haley was joking, a sliver of panic shot through her. Normally, she would never let such a feeling show, but this time, her composure cracked. As Leo would say, when a girl gets closer to her boyfriend, there's a long period afterward where she becomes more insecure and sensitive than ever before. Isabel was no exception. Seeing the change in Isabel's expression, Haley immediately realized she'd gone too far. She quickly backtracked, trying to help Leo out. Oh my God, what is wrong with my mouth? I must be possessed from lack of sleep. Isabel, don't listen to me. I was just kidding. Leo probably has a company thing, right? Didn't you show us the video of his interview on TV last night? Maybe he has another official interview or something now that he's out of class. But Haley's words did nothing to soothe Isabel's anxiety, because Isabel knew that whenever Leo had something important to do, he always texted her beforehand. This time, she hadn't received a message. So, Isabel's lips pressed into a thin line. She handed her books, her freshly bought milk tea, and bread to Haley. Haley, can you tell the professor I won't be in class today? I have to go. Haley blinked, and before she could say another word, Isabel had pushed everything into her arms and was running off in the direction Leo had gone. Isabel, wait. Haley called after her, but she was already too far away. Haley turned to Jesse and Zoe with a look of dismay. Zoe, Jesse, did I just mess up? Did I make Isabel misunderstand things with Leo? This time, I think you might have, Zoe said, her face clouded with worry. Haley smacked her forehead. What is wrong with me? I'm usually so quick-witted, but today I just had to run my mouth. Jesse tried to comfort her. Don't beat yourself up, Haley. As long as Leo isn't doing what you said he was, it'll be fine, even if Isabel follows him. Isabel followed Leo from a distance, tailing him into the administrative building. This building was almost exclusively for the offices of university leadership and faculty research labs. Very few students ever came here. But Isabel remembered hearing Zoe mention that some of the bolder couples on campus would occasionally use the empty classrooms here for their rendezvous. It was quieter and more private than the Grove or the benches outside the dorms. More importantly, during finals week last semester, there had been a huge scandal involving a junior cheating on his girlfriend with a freshman in this very building. With all these thoughts swirling in her head, Isabel watched Leo's hurried pace as he moved deeper into the building, and her expression grew colder. The higher he went, toward the more deserted floors, the more her heart sank. Her legs began to feel weak. Suddenly, she had the terrifying thought that she was about to be abandoned all over again. While she was lost in her thoughts, Leo disappeared around a corner up ahead. Isabel's heart leaped in her throat, and she quickened her pace. Just as she was about to round the same corner, a figure suddenly appeared right in front of her. Ah, she cried out, startled. When she looked up and saw who it was, she froze.